Hey guys, and welcome to this final episode of Fantheon. We're technically going on indefinite hiatus because I don't know, because I'm going
Life
into a
comes at you
different.
fast.
Yeah, I'm like going into like a different field, teaching and stuff. So it's gonna, I don't know, I'm having time for podcasts. So yeah, but this is like a good time to end it. So much stuff going on in the comics world. We got a special guest, Mad Moll, to talk about WonderCon, and we're going to talk about DC Rebirth. All like we're just going to go in with all the titles. So kind of end on a nice, because we've talked a lot of good DC comics this past week. I mean, this past like entire run, pretty much. Yeah. First we're just gonna our guest, Mad Mall.
Hi.
Like, could you like tell our listeners a little about yourself? Since you were in the podcast back in August, so yeah.
True. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me back. I'm Mad Moll. I am a writer. I write comics and I write screenplay and I write about those two things quite often on the internet. You can find me on Twitter at Mad Moll Green. Uh, is that a good intro?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And who do you write for?
Well, currently, I guess I'm writing about comics for popoptic.com
Woo!
and graphicpolicy.com.
Yeah.
I'm
For that
also,
too.
as always, doing my comic about Ultimate called Contested Strip that you can find on Tumblr or on Skyd Magazine. So,
Actually, I when I was interviewing this job in Kentucky, I met this like Ultimate player from Atlanta, and I like asked him about Contested Strip, and he was a fan.
fantastic.
I'm like, yeah, Mad Mall and Megan just like ruin the world, like pretty
It's
much.
it's a very small world, but I feel we're ruling it,
But it's
so it's
good. I mean,
good.
it's good. You found your like nice little niche of like fans, and it's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Do
it's
it
cool.
is widespread to in the ultimate world, or is that kind of faded with time?
Sorry, I didn't quite hear your question.
Like in all Panic used to be the big band that everyone listened to. Is that still a thing, or have they moved on from that?
Oh, I apologize. Your voice is really I'm having difficulty hearing you.
I think you said
Okay,
something
it
about
doesn't
like
matter.
widespread panic, like the band
It was
was.
it was a joke from
Oh,
when
Oh
I
yeah,
okay.
first came around.
yeah, cool. Next we got a Terrence.
Okay, because we we didn't go over who was gonna go. So okay, all
Yeah.
right. Well, my Twitter at Sage Terrence, and you can catch me at Pop Optic. I'm gonna be slaving over reviews, doing those and my convention stuff because school basically said after spring break we're gonna work you a lot, and I'm crying on the inside. You can't see it, but it's been a little hectic, but I'm definitely going to get back at it. And you can also catch me at deadendhiphop.com really, really soon. I'm going into the music world, so watch out for that.
Yes.
And yeah, that's all for me right now.
Cool. And Emma.
Nice. I'm Emma Hubois. You can find her on Twitter, EMMAHOUXBOIS. Um, and I'm all over the place. You know, my usual home is down at Comicosity, but you can also find me a lot of times at Women Write About Comics. Nice little confluence of events. I participated in a roundtable about defending our quote-unquote problematic faves, and it happened to go up on Trans Day of Visibility, and I had a lot of trans-related thoughts on Emma Frost. It's a good piece getting circulated around. A lot of fun. Just launched a weekly, hopefully, roughly weekly column with the London Graphic Novel Network called Crown on the Ground that's just going to be kind of whatever
Yes, I love that
I
song
make it
so
about.
much.
It's not really about that song.
Sleigh
It's
bells.
yeah, it is, but it's a metaphor. It has to do
Yeah.
with the last scene in the filth. It's in my introductory column, but it's a good song. I do like it. Um, But yeah, no, it's my first entry had to do with brand loyalty and sort of how people follow the creators that they want. That's where we are in the industry right now. But at the same time, there's if you do take the long view of DC and Marvel, there's so many interesting things that come out of its history and construction that make them really unique. It's a fun one. Obviously, next week is going to be about Wonder Woman.
Yay.
Yeah, but geez, I think that's kind of mostly it for about now. But yeah, I'm popping up all over the place.
And I'm Logan. I'm Midnighter Bay on Twitter. Bay as BAE. And the reason why I love Midnighter, and once Steve Orlando called me Bay on Twitter, so I was gonna do Midnighter's Bay, but I'm like, I don't know if I would want to date Midnighter. Yeah.
You have like a 75% chance of dying, maybe, so
Yeah.
you'll be okay.
Plus,
Everybody's
it could be
just
like.
thinking of Apollo.
Oh, yeah, I've gotten so many people wanting me to read The Authority the past week. I'm like, yeah, I probably should. Yeah. Yeah, you can find me at Pop Optic. I'm no longer the comics editor. It's kind of freeing, but it's also kind of sad because I've been there for I don't know, almost 2 years or over 2 years, and yeah, it's kind of sad. But I'm still doing some writing. I wrote about this great webcomic called Radio Silence that you should check out. It's about this British band up and coming in the world, and the art style reminds me a lot of Babs Tarr or the Jonesy artists or a little bit of Giant Days, so big fan. And then I got an article about Captain America coming out this week, and just my usual Broad City stuff. Oh, what? Oh, okay. I don't know how to use technology. Oops. Never mind. Oh my gosh.
I was gonna say something, but I thought you'd see it before, but you got it.
Okay, sorry, we had a quick technical difficulty. But yeah,
He's trying to get people to watch, and he wants them to join. Well, it could be a party that way. We go out with a bang. 20
That
people
could have been
in here.
wild. That could have been totally wild.
just random losers showing up. It's okay. It's fine.
They'll probably be from me, so don't call them losers.
Yeah. So we have Mad Moll on this episode because she went to WonderCon this past week. So tell me all about WonderCon. Would you recommend going to it? What's it like as a convention?
Well, WonderCon was super fun. I'm really glad I went. I was a little nervous because, I'm a little bit shy with talking to people and being in big loud spaces. But it was actually a really nice place to wander around and be a fly on the wall. I was actually back at the convention center today for AWP conference, and all I could think the whole time is I missed the cosplay. Where is it?
People weren't cosplaying as famous authors.
I saw a lot of really good sad MFA student cosplay, but it wasn't quite the same.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I thought the panels were really cool. I went to two panels about comic art that I really found helpful because I'm always finding it a challenge as someone who has really no artistic training to write about comics art in kind of an intelligent and systematic way, I guess. And I went to a panel about drawing action. I went to a panel about color and colorists that I found were really helpful in giving me new things to look for and new vocabulary to talk about what I am seeing on the page and trying to describe.
So what colorists were there?
Oh, that's awful that you asked that because I've forgotten. Alex Sinclair was definitely there, and then there were three other DC colorists who I'm not familiar with their work, I'm going to be honest, and there was a French colorist who was also there giving his opinions, and I'm sorry, I can get the names for you if you would like to tweet them out.
It's okay.
I wrote them down.
It's all good.
Sinclair is Jim Lee's coloring partner, right?
Yes, and I found it really interesting. They talked a lot about, I think all of them work digitally from what I could tell in the panel, and they sort of demonstrated how they go into Photoshop and what they're the mechanics of what they're doing is. But I found it really interesting. They talked about flatting, which is really wonky and pretty technical, I guess. I don't know how interested people are in it, but I found it really interesting. The idea that before like the credited colorist goes in and does their thing, they'll often have a flatter who goes in and sort of like lassos sections of the art and like fills in the big main blocks of color. And it's sort of like a first run at color. I also really enjoyed that, they were talking about color theory. I often, try to describe like the color palettes that I'm seeing on the page, but what I learned from this panel is maybe as comic critics, we should talk more about how people are using color theory in individual panels to make certain objects show up more or to like stand out more to the eye. I think that would be an interesting way to talk about color from now on. And I also found it really interesting. They talk about texture, and I hardly ever see comics criticism talking about texture of colors. So like what people are bringing in terms of like batching or patterns is actually a big part of the look of the comic, and I found that really cool to listen to. I enjoyed it very much.
An interesting point about flatting a while ago. This was in the first couple issues that came out. The Ganucho sisters worked together on Zodiac Star Force, and Savannah did the flatting, and Paulina, who was also doing like your line art. I hate that word, but I guess it's kind of what we have to use now because you don't pencil ink traditionally. A lot of people. Paulina doesn't. Obviously, she's digital from the get-go. But sorry. But Paulina had was doing the finishes on the colors over the flats, and they had posted some pictures of what, like Savannah was posting some pictures on her Twitter of what her flats looked like before Paulina's finishes, and it was night and day. And it really depends on how, like, the strategy in the colors in terms of how they work them up, because and I'm not kidding about this, you would get a flat that was like green, but once Paulina had come back through and added all of the other stuff on top, it would be like blue or pink or something. So she would take these base tones and just completely rework them, because she's along with like Babs Tarr, one of the people who really work up colors the most, because that was an interesting thing about Batgirl, is that Serge Lapointe is the colorist, but what would happen is him and Babs would talk about their tones and stuff and share a Dropbox for ideas, but sometimes she would get his pages back and go in and fluff them up even more.
Oh, cool.
So the division of labor is that was in my Batgirl 46 big feature, but can be really, really surprising when it comes to coloring, either between the line arts and the colors or between the flatter and the colors. So it's a huge deal.
And didn't you also go to a panel? I kind of was like perusing pop-up. You went to a panel about action scenes?
Yes, it was awesome. Partially because I worship the ground that Annie Wu walks on, and I got to see her. But yeah, it was a really cool action, drawing action panel. The other artists there were Russell Dodderman was there.
I just caught up on Mighty Thor. So fun.
Yeah, I really like his art, and I really like. I went back and I was looking at a bunch of the Thor comics, and he does this thing which I really like and I think is so cool, that he's one of those artists that is really playful and dynamic with panel shape.
Yeah, like Mighty Thor #1, like it was really off kilter, and like it was a lot going on in the page, but you could see everything crystal clear still.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I also I think with a comic like Thor, that's sort of your ideal technique, because like with someone like Thor, the point is how strong they are. It looks like Thor's action is so powerful that it's like messing up your physical comic book, like it's like rattled the panels, and moving the panels around. I think that's a really, a neat selection of a specific artist for a specific project. There's also Paulo Rivera there, who did
Daredevil.
And I mean that's one of my favorite runs of anything ever. Though, his work with Mark Waid, it's a very special series to me, and part of the reason is just how distinctive it looked. It's just Rivera does very dynamic art. but I also remember those like big blocks of like solid geometric shapes and color that made it so visually distinctive. It was really cool to hear him like tell slightly sarcastic anecdotes about Mark Waid's scripts too.
Oh, I want to hear more because Mark Waid is a very interesting figure.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, yeah. Mark Waid does sound like an interesting figure. I mean, all the artists were sort of talking about. There's a fine line. Like, a lot of them actually, I was surprised, don't like scripts that have very little direction in them.
Yeah.
I think often, you know, we think of our artists, you know, sometimes getting frustrated when like writers get too writery or get too detailed. But you know, based on this panel, they think it's very frustrating. Like I mentioned this in my write-up of the panel, that they think there's nothing worse than getting a note that's like, or like a script that's like pages 15 to 18. They fight, period, and that's like the entire script for 3 pages. They said that's a bit of a nightmare because you end up having to like do the writing to sort of plot out the fight, which is
basically why Stan Lee is the worst.
That's I kind of thought that a little bit, but the Stan Lee situation is even more complex than that. But
I mean, he was writing every book for Marvel, so it makes sense.
Well, quote unquote writing, not in terms of sense
plotting,
now.
Co-plotting,
but
dialoguing.
But the point I wanted to hit is that when it comes to choreographing a fight scene, like if you're writing a movie script or TV script, then you are going to say they fight. Yeah. Because you're going to let the choreographers come in and decide it, and the director on set is going to know what the character beats have to be, and he's going to hash it out with the editor afterwards to decide what hint lands when and where and what it says about the character as it progresses. In a comic, your back and forth between creators is so different that you can't do that. So when you're talking about a script that doesn't have enough description in it, then you're talking about, to use the movie analog, an actor looking at a script and having no idea. You know the old thing you see on TV all the time where there'll be an actor, what's my motivation? You know, that kind of shit. You don't have screen direction. You don't have a sense of the the emotions and things you're supposed to be bringing out, or that kind of stuff. Yeah, it's going to be dissonant in that sense. When I'm drawing from a script, I mean, and it's weird for me because I can work both ends of the page, but when I'm seeing a script, I want something detailed, and it's great if a script is really detailed, but the thing is, what kind of collaboration are you getting? If you get a writer, and I've never dealt with this, thank God, but who gives you this huge detailed script and says, you have to do exactly what is on here, right? Then you'd be, well, damn, there's no input, there's no back and forth. But if you get a big opening bid, and you come back and say, well, shit, we have this laid out across 6 panels, I think I can do it better in 8 if I shift this here and that there, or what if we move this shot to face this angle and that kind of thing. You have a better point to start collaborating from if you have more detail, right? But, I mean, at the same time, you get those jokes of collaborators who are working for so long that, like Gillen and McKelvey, where it's just like, do the thing.
They're like hive mind kind of thing.
Yeah, they just they've reached that point. But yeah, I totally understand that.
One thing that Rivera sort of sounded like concluded by saying, which I think reflects a certain amount of like flexibility or ambivalence about that dynamic, was he found that sometimes when he was given more freedom to sort of plot out and choreograph the fight scenes himself, it ended up kind of mixing in his mind. So looking back at the comics, he doesn't remember if he came up with certain ideas or Wade did. And like major beats in the fight just seem to have like the old joke, that old article about Gillen McKelvey. I mean, I think it sort of came out, if there could be an equivalent Wade Rivera hive mind. I mean, it's sort of this idea that it seems to have come, organically from both of them in the end.
It's always going to be a gestalt. You can't just boil it back down to this thing and that thing, right? It's not an assembly line. But actually, last time we had you on, if I remember correctly, was when we were talking about Black Canary 3.
True.
And the whole cinematic aspect. I know, but I've hit that issue twice now because I did it again for the trade. and I broke down that same scene again the second time. But what was wild to me is that when I go in deep and I read something like that, I'm still half the time thinking I'm a bullshit artist, right? Like, this is what I think is happening here, but it could have happened totally differently, right? But
Yeah.
I had a sense of this really cinematic thing, and that's why I really wanted to bring you on for that episode, because you can speak to more film and stuff. But what did Annie Wu have to say about action sequences in this panel that maybe have been relevant to that issue?
Yeah, well, lots of stuff. I mean, she actually, with no prompting, brought up that issue, Emma. Like that was, I was like thinking I was gonna like raise my hand and ask a question about it, but no, it just like came up. Anyway, she talked a lot about movies. Like all the artists on the panel were constantly referencing movies and talking about how they got inspiration from them. She brought up Fury Road specifically in connection to Black Canary #3. But what I really enjoyed was the contrast. We were talking about, Dodderman getting really wonky about how he, likes to move his panels and have different shaped panels and dynamic panels. Wu was saying that she has this kind of strategy that she's really interested in, where she keeps the panels pretty rectangular and at right angles, which is definitely true. Go back and look at her stuff, Hawkeye and so on. But she's interested in using what she calls kind of a cinematic style. Like, she thinks about cameras zooming in and zooming out. She's thinking about framing things like movies, basically, where you basically either have movement in panel or you create a sense of camera movement through zooms or through panel size. She uses different techniques like that, and she's really sophisticated. She's picked that strategy and really ran with it. It's great to watch it.
Yeah, I can't wait for her image book.
She also works in animation, right? Like, she's done some work on Venture Brothers, if I understand correctly. Is that right?
Yes, that is right.
Oh.
So, I mean, it'd be interesting to see how much that interplay was, because there's some artists now who do animation and really dig into a lot. I mean, there's that famous tweet from Jake White. He's like, "Listen to Daddy Jake." He says, get your paychecks from animate, or let animation pay your bills and draw comics on the side. And so he kind of is a more peripheral figure in comics, and we don't really see him a lot outside of his own stuff. And when he pops up in like Ms. Marvel, or he helps in the breakdowns in Batgirl, you spot him right away. But it's an interesting statement, because a while ago I had a chance to hang out with Brandon Graham, and I had to ask him about Jermaine, the Adventure Time episode, and how he did on that. And I says, what was it like working animation? He's like, it sucked. That's not exactly what he said, but it was just a really challenging and different way of working that just, he was glad to work with those guys and do the stuff that they did, but it wasn't something that meshed well for him, and he kind of was happy to let them take it out of his hands. So there wasn't really any revolutionary impact on his creative process, kind of was the impression that I got. This was not a formal interview, this was just shooting the breeze, but so it was interesting to see how a lot of, we do think about film and comics as informing the way that we do that storytelling, and you'll have someone who, again, who's worked in animation like Annie Wu, who has this very sophisticated standpoint and pulls from film and studies it and does that kind of, that, I can't remember what I called it, but the way that it tricks your subconscious. But then you'll have someone like Brandon Graham, who is another masterful visual storyteller, who's just like, nah, he's just about the static image, and in that, so it's really interesting to see that we can talk about the influence on film and comics, but that's only one approach, and that the medium is more than the interplay between those two.
Yeah, and I think it's also sort of juxtapositional. Like, I think even if you have a style like Annie Wu's that's very explicitly cinematic, I think it's enhanced by the language of film, but I think it stands out because it's not quite like film. Like, when you watch a movie, unless you're watching it with your hand on the pause and the slow motion button, even if something really catches your eye, you can't stare at that moment for as long as you might want to. But like in comics, they can definitely manipulate the rhythm at which your eye moves, but ultimately, the reader dictates the momentum of the page. It's almost like in collaboration with the artist. So I think where we can sort of contrast it with film, but I think it has its own almost temporal quality that will always be separate from film.
Yeah, that's one thing I love about comics is it plays with time, and that's like the connection I found between it and poetry. And you can like linger on images.
Or even like a sheet of music that a musician has to play.
Yeah, actually,
speaking of any woo.
Actually, as I kind of meant the webcomic I mentioned earlier, Radio Silence, when the band's playing, they'll have sheet music up, which is pretty cool. Kind of adds some depth to the concert scenes. So, yeah, I don't know if any other artists, Annie Wu.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So Moll, what comics creators did you meet or get to interact with when you were at WonderCon?
Well,
or, I mean, if you can, I mean, there are probably a lot.
Yeah.
But,
I went around to the comic the floor where all the booths are, and I did meet I met Ming Doyle, who worked on Hellblazer, which was super cool. Yeah,
I love her.
Big fan of her. I met Shannon Waters, which was a really big thrill, and I had a long conversation with her, just talking about how much Lumberjanes meant to me and how much I enjoyed, I guess, getting to know it pretty intimately when I was writing about it for the Rainbow Hub.
Yeah.
But it was, yeah, I mean, I don't want to get into my silly feels right now, but it was
it's
really
okay.
nice.
I mean,
this is your therapy session. Do it. Field trip.
Guys, I'm gonna open up. No,
it's
but
all
like,
good.
but I know a lot of us have a lot of warm fuzzies about Lumberjanes. But it was really great to share my warm fuzzies with one of the creators and kind of have a personal connection. And my other sort of awesome person that I met was Charles Soule, who wrote She-Hulk, which was one of my favorite comics, I don't know, ever. It was just, it was really cool. I mean, I get a little tongue-tied. I don't know if I had like the most in-depth conversation or if it was just me trying to tell him I liked his comic, but it was cool to meet him because I adore that comic so hard. Yeah, so and I went around, I talked to a bunch of other people, people who like writing for IDW were really friendly. The Top Cow guys were super nice, and we chatted about a bunch of stuff for a long time. So it was really.
Do you remember who you met from Top Cow?
Matt Hawkins. I talked to him.
Nice.
Yeah.
They are a great little passionate bunch, and I don't think that they get their due for either their place in Image or the industry, really. And I really try to bring that out whenever I write about them, and I was surprised how attached to Top Cow I was when I did my first kind of formal reviews of a book, because I was in and out of Witchblade as a teenager, and for all those teenager reasons to read Witchblade. But getting into some of their Aphrodite stuff these days, and getting to do to really go in depth on Sejic in Sunstone, and you really realize that that Top Cow was the one really kind of the house that built itself out of those imprints at Image. I mean, Wildstorm at the end, they sold not sold out, but sold to DC and folded in, and that's fine. That's just kind of, I guess, where Jim Lee's trajectory was, and that was the tone of Wildstorm. Most of what they were doing felt like it was in the shadow of DC, and it was natural progression. But I mean, if you look at all these attempts to do, when the creators had their opportunities to build up those fence posts and do their own thing, it's really Top Cow that's thrived and built themselves, a great history. You look at guys like Francis Manipool and all the stuff he did on Flash. He was on Witchblade way before that. Michael Turner. Well, geez, yeah. I mean, and that's a wild thing to think about that he's no longer with us. But but Turner, well, like he flashed out of there, and Sejic, and there's just such a history of people coming through there and doing great work on the weirdest properties. Yeah, they're a dope crew over there at Top Cow.
Also, kind of segueing into our kind of bigger DC Rebirth discussion, what was like the feeling in the room while you were like the Rebirth
That's
was
a good question. That's a good question.
I really just like just feelings, emotions, like
Well,
responses.
I say this as someone who has really enjoyed a lot of DC Comics throughout the years, and I'm not entirely cynical about them or their product or about Rebirth, but I wrote an article covering it where I compared the mood in the room to, like, if you've ever had like Mormons or Jehovah's Witnesses come to your home and
Yes,
give their pitch.
Jehovah's Witnesses. I hate those.
But you know how like
the fact that they come to the door, I don't like.
But you know how like they so sincerely are excited about what they're doing, you know? It was it was an energy. I kept for some reason thinking of that throughout it. And there were things that they announced that I was like, oh yeah, that sounds cool. I would check that out for sure. But there was that strange, like, blindly earnest energy to a lot of it. It was also weird. I mean, I know we're going to talk about who was announced and what was not announced in a second, but it was so weird how they kept introducing everyone who came out on stage as their friends. Like, it's like,
Aww.
And here's my friend on this next book, which is cute, but it's weird that, like, are they just, this is just a group of friends at
Yeah,
DC
they could get.
Comics?
Oh no.
Like, I don't know if they meant to give that impression, but it was
Like, why
weird
hasn't
that-
your friend Priest been on a book? It's in like 20 years, like, or whatever.
But also, it's the
clearly,
question, like, what would happen if you hired someone who was not a personal friend, you know?
Well, introducing Greg Rucka as a friend is because I've maybe mentioned this once before, but I was at the DC Nation panel in 2006, and that was intense. That was they couldn't get Morrison for that one. He only made sporadic appearances at that convention. He was there, but he wasn't at the panel. It was Rucka, Wade, who was the editor that ran it, the guy who was over at Marvel now. He was one of the guys who spearheaded Ms. Marvel.
Stephen
you know
Wacker.
who I'm talking about. Yeah, Wacker.
He's like the worst name ever.
And Dan DiDio. And oh man, that they were back and forth, those two, because that was 06, and I think Rucka had maybe another year left before he finally threw in the towel. And like Mark Waid was just, he was beat red a couple times.
Yeah.
He was like embarrassed. He was like the not naive, but he was like the real kind of genuine, sort of the narrator on Arrested Development. What's that guy's name?
Ron Howard? Yeah, he kind of does.
Like the Ron Howard there.
In person, he does kind of have that like older uncle vibe, but like on Twitter, he's like way different.
Yeah, no, I don't know about his Twitter, but he was really kind of second embarrassment because they would do stuff like, I can't remember what Ruckus said, but he said something. He said, I've got an exclusive. I can say whatever I want. You're not going to fire me. And DiDio said, yeah, but I control what books you're going to go on. So I could bust you down to Scooby-Doo if I wanted to. And like they were laughing and joking, but I was several rows back, and you could still tell there was something behind it. And Ruckus says, yeah, okay, fine, I'll just make a Velma into an alcoholic lesbian. And the crowd just went nuts.
Oh, my God.
So,
This is amazing.
It was astounding to watch. I mean, obviously we know that was not all showmanship because of the back and forth between them, but so the whole friend thing, it is a very engineered corporate culture. But I mean, hopefully there is a certain amount of behind it. I mean, any interaction I've seen between DiDio and Lee, those guys do seem like they're buddies, that they will go to each other's barbecues. To me, at this point.
I don't mean to suggest at all that I don't want people to get along and like each other. That's not where I was going with it. It was just more like the idea, especially since, by anyone's measure, no matter how you feel about it, DC Rebirth is all about a tightening or a focusing of their focus, I guess. It just seems weird that I guess it contributed to sort of what I saw as like an increased insularity in their creative teams. Yeah.
Because there's a lot of like people I enjoy on DC. They're like nowhere to be seen on these lists. I'm like,
they've disappeared.
Well, and I actually had another conversation with some other people about this when we were looking at it, and the two phrases that came back to us were meat and potatoes and no more back early.
Yeah.
And we know where those quotes came from. We remember that. And so we were all kind of like, oh, shit. It took a long-ass time. Because that was before the DCU, or like early in the DCU, YOU, that article went up and that statement was made. So I guess it tells you how much lead time go into this stuff, but it kind of makes you wonder just how much even internal support the attempt of the DCU had. Like, we don't really know who was behind it, who the key drivers were, who wanted to make it happen, and but yeah, that kind of spelled a lot of it, I think.
They were also they were so negative about the New 52. And I'm not saying there was not some negative things to be negative about in New 52. However, it's just so weird to have like the most important people at DC Comics saying, it's like basically in so many words, DC New 52 was a mistake. We got off the track. We disconnected with our fans, and have the crowd like vigorously applauding their recommitment to everything the New 52 wasn't. And I was kind of like, they're probably onto something, but at the same time, I feel there's an unfortunate subtext going on there when they talk about reconnecting with the fans in spite of everything that at least New 52 was in theory.
Question, I'm guessing you're not a pro wrestling fan.
No.
I'm right there with you.
Because
no one same.
I have to say, Emma, you're slowly winning me over. But anyway,
right. That's what we saw here. That's what that was. This was a classic Vince McMahon maneuver. And I mean, it's a marketing thing. It's a marketing thing overall, right? But when you talk about engaged fandoms in the way that we talk to audiences, that's what this is. That's what we're seeing here, right? And you will see marketing campaigns where like, yeah, we really effed up that one. Let's make fun of it, right? And especially in the age of social media where brands are trying to co-opt memes and stuff, right?
Like that. Burger King, IHOP, all you food accounts.
Taco Bell, like all their commercials are just like the internet mashed up.
Yeah, but it's what you call in pro wrestling terms a cheap pop, right? Where you can say something that you're gonna get a certain reaction for. So if you're in Chicago, right, and John Cena comes out, and Cena is not getting any traction with the crowd, Cena's a guy who can work a crowd way better than this. But for your average person who only knows the name John Cena, this will work. And Chicago's not having any of him, so he'll be like, "Oh man, the Blackhawks really." Or the Bulls are a great team. And he's like, look at Chicago. We've had so many champions here. Blah blah blah. Right? Then you'll get people. You'll play their loyalties, and you'll get them to and they'll do that with in wrestling that if Stephanie McMahon or Triple H or Vince McMahon come out as the corporate figures, that they're talking from a script and it's not the real them. But you also know when they say, well, this person did a thing that was stupid, that they were the motivation behind they okayed that storyline, right? So you kind of know that they'll try to push one guy and make him into the big hero, and if he doesn't go over, they'll bring someone else in to crush him back down and replace him. Right?
Oh man, it sounds just like DC.
That's what I'm saying. See, this is exactly how it works. So it's called ring psychology in pro wrestling. And ring psychology is also a lot more physical in the match mechanics. But in terms of how you talk a crowd, work a crowd, understand your audience's expectations, and recoup from a failure, it's textbook.
Well, you can see like the Warner Brothers movie division doing it with like Suicide Squad. Like,
we don't really know what's going on with Suicide Squad, and that's a little bit of
at least in the marketing. I mean, it's probably just routine reshoots, but.
Well, we don't. It sounds like it's more extensive than that. But anyway.
Well, I think you must be right about the working the crowd thing, Emma, because I mean the crowd that was there loved it. Like I think you're at what's basically a sales pitch or a press conference, and you see cool things up on screen, and you're like, oh, that's very good, polite applause. But people were like gasping and like groaning with pleasure. They
Oh
really
man,
enjoyed it.
Groaning with pleasure. All right.
Sure this wasn't the Justice League porn parody?
Don't bring that into existence, because they were trying to make fun of that. That's probably real.
I think it is real. I just willed it into existence. Yeah. So yeah, let's move on to the titles. I got them up. Big shout out to Comicosity for having them so nicely organized.
So and organizing all the promo images too. That was actually even bigger task, because there was so much promo art coming up and going down. Like Heidi McDonald couldn't keep up with all that stuff when she was trying to tweet it. There were art was coming out.
I just retweeted it from everybody. That's how I kept up with it and
them. This is so cool. Yeah.
Our guys did a great effort on that.
So June, things are kicking off. We got Aquaman. It's written by Dan Abnett, Brad Walker, art by Walker, Phil Briones, and Jesus Marino. And it's supposed to tie into the Rise of the Seven Seas story by Dan Abnett and Jeff Johns. So
I don't feel like reading Aquaman. I'm sorry, no, that's out for me.
I just want to remind everybody that my choice for writer on this was Noelle Stevenson. So
that would have been so awesome.
Oh, that's such a good idea.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can't remember who I had on art now.
It's kind of. I mean, I kind of wish that they had made it closer to Jason Momoa, but yeah, it's.
They tried that like last start, kind of.
I don't like too much synergy between the films and the movies. I mean, if they want to do digital first, like what they're doing with Supergirl, which, I mean, digital first Supergirl, it's Bengal drawing, so there's no likenesses, there's none of that. But that's the line to do that stuff. To me, the comics should be the comics and look like the direction they want to take the comics, and the movies can have their own separate. I hate too much synergy with costumes and stuff. It bugs me.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's one that, I don't know, I'll wait for the initial reviews.
I understand what you're saying, and the idea of having, a not white Aquaman is dope. I mean, that's basically the subtext of what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
Okay, so moving on, Aquaman, so kind of has a meh reaction. We got Batman, written by Tom King, art by Mikkel Janin and David Finch.
Yep.
And we got Duke Thomas and Commissioner Gordon looking like his classic self. So
yeah. Wait, that's gonna be good. Especially Duke's the Robin of that title, because Batman supposedly has like a Robin for each specific title, which is weird. But I'm for it. I'm definitely for it.
I like that idea. Well, that's kind of what's happening, kind of not. I get what you're saying, but. Because you're talking about the detective, and we'll get to that.
Yeah, like detective, yeah. And then actual Damien's like, hey, how's he a Robin when I'm one?
Is that Batman with a jetpack in one of the promo images? It's so cool.
But, Tom King had been floated for a while. He was the primary rumor, the half-right stuff that Bleeding Cool got on that. They were way off base with Snyder, but anyway. But it's interesting. I've been saving this joke for so long, but Tom King got Janine in the divorce with with Seeley.
Oh yeah.
No, I mean I'm sure they're still buddies, but I mean that's the joke he got. He got the kids in the divorce. But how the fuck are we going to be going from Finch to him on a regular basis? I mean, I don't think Finch is a terrible artist. There's some stuff that he does that I liked. And I mean, back when I was like heavy in my Top Cow days, I really enjoyed his stuff. But even so, going between those two, that is some serious whiplash. I get what they're doing in terms of audience-wise; it makes sense. But I don't know how you can tell a coherent story jumping between those two. It'd be like if they made an X-Men comic where you had to jump between Chris Bacalo and Greg Land. And no offense to David Finch, he's much better than Greg Land, but
we're gonna see some Grady mighty Batman kicks when Janin's on. That I know.
Yeah.
You're gonna see sexy Batman when Janin's on. Like it'll be.
David Finch is just gonna be shadow, dark. Make it as dark as possible.
A lot
Tom
of cross
King.
hatching.
Torture Dick Grayson.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah.
But Tom King's great. No, I'm really excited to see what he does. My pick had been Gail Simone. She hasn't been on a Trinity book since Wonder Woman, and I mean, honestly, like her strongest stuff is when she creates. Well, not necessarily creates because she didn't create the Birds of Prey, but when she steps outside of that kind of stuff. What do we think of Gail Simone for? We think about for Deadpool, for Secret Six, for Birds of Prey. These peripheral things. I don't think she's ever going to go down as being like one of the iconic Batgirl writers, and that's fine because her best Barbara Gordon work, in my opinion, is Oracle. But I want to see her get the big chair on Batman. I want to see how she would do that. But I'm excited for Tom King. I am.
I mean, I think my favorite thing, well, I shouldn't say my favorite thing, but one thing I really like about Gail Simone's writing is how smart she is in, like, a cast of characters, getting them to all, like, cumulatively address issues so that they're, like, having a really smart conversation through the story. And there's never one character that you can, like, identify as, like, the stand-in for the author or, like, the stand-in for the moral of the story. She really does write good groups of people who, like, by consensus are figuring things out in real time. She's so good at that.
And some of that actually was her trying to puzzle that stuff out. I don't remember the specifics because it's been a while since I read this, but in terms of trying to figure out the dynamics between Black Canary, Oracle, and Huntress, she doesn't necessarily stand behind all of her characterization of them back then, but she was puzzling through those dynamics and how they treated Huntress early on, and what we might say was kind of slut-shaming or what have you, and how they worked through that. It also, in way back then, if I'm remembering what she said correctly, it was her also working through some of that in real time, and that's kind of something that I talked a little bit about in my last column about how DC really lends itself to writers reconciling themselves with the larger thing that a character represents, right? And so Gail Simone coming out at that, as like you're saying, reconciling the big issues by consensus is one of the reasons that she's such a titanic DC author.
And I think it's connected to why I think she's such an important voice in comics. Like, even when she's not writing comics, like, even when she's just sort of like Twitter's comic fairy godmother, is like...
Yeah, I'm talking terribly about Cyclops. Yeah.
Yeah, like, I don't even read any Gail Simone books, but she's...
Colossus is her new target. Yeah. But anyway, like, I think it's just that and you can see it in her writing that she... I don't know if she would say this about herself, but I think she really believes in the power of, like, a chorus of the right voices can, mess up along the way, but, like, eventually go somewhere great.
I think she would say that in her own words, in my opinion. I mean, if you look at something like was it called The Movement?
I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
The Movement, Secret Six, any of it. Yes. Yeah. Absolutely.
Then we never saw any of those characters ever again.
Yeah. Well, it was an experiment, right? Everybody's like, man, Occupy, let's do something about it. So, I mean, kudos to DC for actually giving her a title that wasn't tied into a core IP. But you can also kind of look at The Movement as being an early attempt at something like We Are Robin.
Oh, yeah. That makes
sense.
What we're
talking about, what We Are Robin accomplished, what Duke discovers, what Snyder talks about, what Duke discovered over that period of time, parallel to Super Heavy, was that the Robin doesn't necessarily need a Batman, and it's not one singular person with that I've been named Robin.
That ID.
They have that collective identity.
I'm Robin. No, I'm Robin. No, we all are gonna pull our part for the city.
Yeah.
Cool. So Gail Simone on Batman would have been awesome. Next we have The Flash. It's written by Josh Williamson with art by Carmine Di Giandomenico and Neil Gouge. I probably mispronounced those names. And this one, I love the Flash TV show. Haven't watched this week's episode, but I love the art on this. It's still kind of cartooning, but has like a nice screen print feel. And also, I love the new villain, Godspeed. He's like
I can't believe it took them this long to come up with that.
Yeah, like
I feel like an asshole for not
yeah.
coming up with it.
But like,
Flash season 3 already confirmed. Godspeed already.
yeah, like when I think of good Flash book, I think like definitely visually dynamic and just constantly emotional. Like even since like the old days when the other guy named Carmine was drawing the Flash. So yeah, it's definitely. I haven't read any of the Flash in the New 52, but I think I'll be giving this one a try.
The art, like, man, over the like the 2014, early 2015 that I never did it. Sam was covering it and I was editing on it, but it was super 90s. And the one thing I hated the most about trying to be the editor on reviews of it is I'd be trying to get screen caps, and they use that. You know when they look like you get really angry like with a Sharpie when you're like 8? That's that panel, those panels that were really big in the 90s. That's what that is. There's all these like really scratchy, sharp, ugly things.
Gross.
These weird sections. You know, if they had taken it to its furthest extent, it would have started to get that actually organic, you know, body horror type page paneling that Greg Capullo did way the hell back when he was doing Spawn or Tales of the Hellspawn or Sam and Twitch and all that. But it didn't go far enough to that, and it was so wrong for the Flash. It just was. I gritted my teeth like they do in that comic every time I had to deal with the art. So thank God, because I mean, you need a bright, swift-moving, dynamic artist.
Yeah, Carmine definitely got that because I read his all-new X Factor. Really good. And then he did little backups on We Are Robin.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm definitely with. And then I like the story that they're going to have for this Rebirth #1.
Yeah.
It's like a Speed Force storm somehow like gets let loose on Central City. And it's going to be like a whole like citizens of the Speed Force, and Flash has to like train them all. Some of them are gonna be good, some are gonna be bad, and the big bad murderer is Godspeed. So I'm definitely with that because that's
Captain Cold. Captain Cold's in it. I love me some Captain Cold.
An actual good Captain Cold turn up because
I'm gonna hear Willis Miller's
not
voice
doing it for
in
me.
my head all the time, which is.
And I'm interested because Wally's suit changed. He wasn't in Reverse Flash colors. He had like his future self had like white and red and black, but in like the promo art, he had like Reverse Flash colors.
Oh well, it looks like the traditional like Kid Flash costume, kind of a little bit.
Yeah, with those colors. Now that I'm thinking about it, I haven't actually seen the picture, but from Terrence is saying, yeah, Wally is my Flash. I mean, I don't really have Flash. I'm not really invested, but. Like, when I was big into DC, like, Wally was the Flash. To me, the iconic Flash artists are Mike Wieringo, Francis Manipool, and Scott Collins. Like when I think of the Flash, I think of them.
Yeah,
probably Scott Collins. Manipool. Yeah.
I just like the TV show.
All
right, so we got
Flash. It. Yeah. I want to leave Gotham, see what else he can do, but...
So we got a Green Arrow next. It's written by Ben Percy, art by Otto Schmidt.
Pass. Pass.
Yeah. Okay, whatever. He has facial hair now. Next.
Yeah, but
Black Canary. He's meeting Black Canary. Don't beat him like that.
I'm so sad about that. I'm like, no, my cranky bird. Why are you going back to that asshole? But you know, I had my time. Brendan Fletcher, anyone, Lee Lowridge gave me my Christmas present for the next 10 years, so I'm just going to let them do whatever they want with Dinah. I had my Black Canary.
Our Green Arrow writer.
Yeah.
Jeff Lemire, get him back.
But I think if people do like the Black Canary Green Arrow dynamic as a couple or whatever, they probably will really like this series. The people behind it are super stoked on it. The people who like that couple are super stoked on it. But, I read that Chuck Dixon Butch Guice issue of Birds of Prey. I know what's really going on and where Dinah really belongs. So, you know, you can say whatever you want about Ollie, but
Yeah. I really think that when DC is just trying to, because they have the show, then they had the classic Green Arrow, and they have like
Yeah,
I
but
just don't know what to do with him.
but in the show, Black Canary is a lesbian. She doesn't give a shit about it. Ollie, that's the best thing
Well,
about
she's
Arrow.
she's White Canary now, and she's
Yeah,
a
I
time
know, and
traveler.
she's on Legends of
But yeah, she's
Tomorrow,
great.
but
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying.
she's in the best season. So I mean, there's a reason why
Wait,
season 2 is the best.
wait. Oh, okay. I thought you were about to say season 3. I'd be like, wait a minute.
Oh
That's a lie.
no, the show's really gone downhill.
Felicity. Every character should play Felicity and watch it just skyrocket.
I don't even watch that show, never will, but I'm so mad that Legends of Tomorrow just puts Stephen Amell in age makeup for, like, KR Ollie. Like, get Chris Christopherson, you assholes. I mean,
Christopherson, oh my gosh.
I know he already played Whisper, but, like, or I don't know, like, Willie Nelson or...
Willie Nelson, oh my
Are
gosh.
you kidding me? Yeah, or what's the third guy I always talk about for this role? Tommy Chong. Tommy Chong.
Oh my god.
Because, like, think about it. DK, he's that old, aging hippie who's pissed off, and it's just really like, Dave's not here, man. Like, come on. Tommy Chong as like,
Oh my, that'd be hilarious.
Grandpa Ollie? Hell yes.
Because like, and he like
One-armed
barely,
shit?
he didn't even sound old. He like, yeah, he's just not good enough an actor to pull it off.
I mean, you
I'm
were
just there for John Diggle Jr. That's all I was there for.
I mean, I've completely had it with that show in every way. I mean, I know it's partially the network it's on, but like it's like that show has never met a risk that it wanted to take in any way. Like in terms of acting or like just committing to humor or committing to action or
We're gonna kill. No. We're not Batman. We're not gonna do that. No.
But it's like anything ever that important happens on the show, they never stick with it. They just walk it back. So it's just like it's always just like fluctuating within a very
Season
small.
2 was
Yes,
good, mostly
like they
'cause of,
mishandled
Wilson.
Roy so bad. Like Roy did absolutely nothing. We really didn't get Arsenal like I wanted to.
Yeah,
No
but Colton
strung out on
Haynes is a
cocaine.
dick.
No robot arm. No strung out on drugs.
The
Come
great
on.
thing that happened this season before I stopped watching is Ollie got bit by a shark off screen. I really enjoyed that.
Off screen.
It was.
Oh yeah, those flashbacks are terrible. Like,
Oh my
there's some
god.
great dialogue. Like,
I don't even care for the flashbacks. Like I used to be heavily invested in the flashbacks, and now it's like you have one more. Arrow season 5 is confirmed, so the flashback you have a 5-year thing. So technically, the flashback should stop this season, or unless you went back to the island again, even though you're already on it.
he
So-
always ends up at that damn island. Like every season.
You went to Hong Kong. They took a break, and then you went right back. Well, so that doesn't.
Someone hit me up when he like is with the Russian mafia because that's like the one flash
Don't write this show for them.
line I wanted.
Yeah, get paid
Yeah,
for
we
it.
got a Green Lantern.
The one sorry,
Got
the
a
one
Green
thing,
Lanterns. Oh.
sorry, the one thing I want to say about Arrow, the one thing I want to give them credit for was their casting of their version of the Suicide Squad was godlike. I've wanted Michael Jai White to be Bronze Tiger for so
Oh
long,
yeah.
and I
And
didn't
then they
watch it
announced the
because,
movie for
like,
it, and it was like, LOL, you're all gonna
well,
die.
it's a different lineup. It's a totally different lineup, and that's fair. But just the fact that they finally gave him the role he was born to play.
Oh, that episode was so.
superhero.
That Suicide Squad episode was
Oh.
so good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Was it season 2? I think, or 3? I don't know. I forget. It was just really good.
Well, they were supposed to have Devin Aoki as Katana, but then they switched her with I can't remember who it was, another great actress. But I was like, oh man, if they have Michael Jai White as him and Devin Aoki as as Katana, then I would have been like,
I'm for Katana appreciation. I love her. I'm really here for her in the movie come August. Bet you she gets killed off before then in Arrow.
no, they won't. They don't.
They're gonna be like Synergy. Never heard of it.
But all right, let's get on to Green Lantern.
We got a Green Lanterns, written by
right.
Sam Humphries, art by Robson Rocha and Ardian Siaf.
I'm
And
gonna
it's gonna
go
be,
with this one. I
Jessica
like that.
Cruz and Simon Baz.
Actual new characters.
That they have underused thus far. Well, they've underused Simon Baz. Like they gave him like 4 issues of Green Lantern. And it was like, okay, just gonna put you on the shelf. Stay right there. Don't move. We'll get back to you.
Yeah, we get the Red Lanterns as the bad guys, which a lot of people hate the
Oh,
Red
so
Lanterns, but I think they're
that
really
hasn't
fun.
happened before.
I love the idea of the Red Lanterns. I think that like they get played too seriously. That most of the time, you know those like heavy metal bands that all their logos look like entwined tree roots that you can barely read the font. That's what the Red Lantern Corps comes off as at the time. Like guys who take themselves really seriously is that, and it's just this like one long death metal scream when they show up. But I love the
Well,
idea behind them. I
in
love the
that
concept.
case, they throw like blood napalm.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of a shake-up, but yeah, I'll go with them again because last time I read them, they were protectors of Earth. Even Earth has really like been switched around because first it was the Green Lanterns, then it was the Red Lanterns, then the Sinestro Corps. Now it's kind of just open season on Earth again. So
Ever
like,
since I like saw this guy who like stank up my entire store wearing his Green Lantern tank top, I've been prejudiced against Green Lanterns.
I've been prejudiced against them forever because they're cops. They're space cops.
Oh yeah, they are.
And all the baggage that comes along with cops comes along with the Green Lantern. So I'm always skeptical of them. I like some of the individual lanterns, but as an institution, man, those guys are effed. But the one thing I want to say, Sam Humphries is the guy who does Jonesy, right?
He
and
does
Star-Lord,
Jonesy, and he does has done a bunch of stuff for Marvel.
he did the Black Vortex. He was one of the Black
Man.
Vortexes, and he done Legendary Star-Lord.
But he is the Jonesy guy.
Yeah.
Okay, then let him have the fucking cat. Let him have the cat.
Oh yeah.
Star, you want Sam Humphrey Dexter dialogue?
Yes, I do. Give me the cat. Dexter is the best. I love that thing.
Can Jonesy show up in the background as like a Red Lantern?
She would be a Red Lantern too. I swear to God. But honestly though, like that cat, like his origin story was the best self-parody of Jeff Johns' storytelling methods ever. And I don't even know if he realized he was making fun of himself, but man, that was intense.
Yeah, I
He
read
gave
that.
the cat a tragic
Because
backstory.
Jeff Johns got me in the comics because Green Lantern was like one of my first comics ever.
Yes.
Green Lantern 42, Agent Orange Part 2, I think. And then I just stuck with it. So,
Hey, he's got some good stuff. I've said some very nice things about his take on Power Girl and the Justice Society over the years. There's some stuff I like of his, and there's some times that he falls back on his formula that I'm like, Jeff, what are you doing? Right. But
yeah,
I'm
like
back
as soon as I got in the comics, Blackest Night was starting. I was like, zombies? But with superheroes?
That was not
Oh
the
my
Blackest
God.
Night you were expecting.
Yep. Okay. So our next one is Superman, written by Peter Tomasi, art by Patrick Gleason and Doug Mahnke. Like
Woohoo! Yes!
that's solid for
Yes!
Superman. I mean,
Yes!
Tomasi is such a safe bet who's going to write safe stories.
I mean, it's better than like Scott Lobdell, I guess.
I mean, better, yes, but safe. And I mean, that speaks to what our whole perspective on Rebirth is that it's safe. I mean, I know that I've read a Tomasi comic, and probably one that I liked, but don't ask me what the hell it was, because I have no idea.
Batman and Robin.
He wrote Damian very well. In Batman
Okay,
and
well,
Robin.
yeah, but unfortunately, Patrick Gleason is not bringing Damian with him. Yeah, I mean, like I've said before, this is not a shade against anyone who works at DC or writes at DC, but culturally, we are at the nadir of when you can tell good Superman stories. So I'm just kind of like, they have such an uphill climb, and it doesn't even really have much to do with the Man of Steel or Batman vs Superman, but culture where we're at, you have to climb a big hill to tell a good, seriously impactful Superman story these days. And Gene Yang, when he was at his peak, doing the stuff that he really wanted to do, and the few times he got it to land the way that he wanted to without what you'd think is interference or whatnot, he did great stuff, but it was kind of few and far between.
I'm excited for his new book.
Yeah,
Ooh,
me too.
Superman.
Yeah, why don't we skip ahead to that one? Why not? You know.
The Chinese Superman, yeah. I mean, he's also got a great series coming out from Hey Panels right now, where he's talking about really in-depth cartooning stuff that is really cool.
New Superman. Yeah, written by Jean Luen Yang, art by Victor Bogdanovich, and yeah, it's like it's set in Shanghai, and it's like a 17-year-old kid, and I love the new outfit. Like, yeah, go for it.
He actually said this really cool thing at the panel, which is if Metropolis did exist on our Earth, it would be
It would
Shanghai.
be Hong Kong, like Shanghai. It would be that.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. And I also like the idea, like he says his main character is not a very good person,
Ooh.
but but then gets Superman's powers and he didn't necessarily say this, but heavily implied that that caused character change in a positive direction.
Yeah, he
And
said like it changes his heart.
yes, and I liked that as like sort of a counterpoint, to our cinematic Superman right now is all about the frisson of horror we all feel when we contemplate a being of that power. But I like the idea that there's at least one version of Superman like prominently in the comics where the emphasis is on it's possible that to like be inspired by Superman's power.
Yes, that's why I love Superman. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
You
you.
know-
I can't wait.
Yeah, because, and I just want to say, and I feel like I always have to say this because I feel like the impression is wrong, is that even Frank Miller didn't do that in DKR.
I know.
It wasn't about that. And that's why I always, anytime I talk about DKR and I get to control the images behind it, I always try to put the nuclear bomb scene in there because it showed him as a fragile mortal thing and showed his connection to the Earth. And like, Miller's Superman is not how people talk about him, and he's not what you see in BVS.
Yeah.
I think.
And Miller
yeah.
never rolled his eyes at Superman. You know what I mean?
No, he did not. Yeah, not even in
Garth
DC.
Ennis likes Superman. I mean, he wrote.
Oh, Garth Ennis loves Superman.
Yeah, he's like the only superhero he likes.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But I mean, what's really exciting to me is that about this and talking about Shanghai and this character and stuff is that this was kind of my ballpark figure of what I wanted to see from an Asian Iron Fist. That's what I'd kind of gone for, someone from Shanghai or Hong Kong who was deep in a business background and kind of getting to explore contemporary China and not necessarily the same third generation Asian American thing that we typically see. I was like, maybe let's shake it up. And so it's really cool to see Gene Yang, who honestly I would expect to do something like this based on his body of work, to go back to Shanghai and try and make another attempt, a better attempt at mapping out China and the DCU, because I don't think they've tried that since
The Justice League International, pretty bad.
Well, okay, even further back than that, Grant Morrison created all those characters that they tried out in Checkmate and all that, the August General and all those kind of really.
They were in there.
Yeah, I think it's going to be dope.
Maybe there's something to be said, like since we're definitely on board with the fact that like Miller and Ennis, maybe I would add to that list Kirkman, like people who've written these really vivid nightmares of what superpowers could be like, are not people who write Superman like he's a jerk or like an asshole or an impossible fantasy. Like they take him seriously. Even people who've made huge money and sold a bunch of comics writing nightmarish versions of Superman are not. They're not afraid to sit in awe of actually like this like messianic goodness either.
Oh yeah, like Tom Taylor,
Well, I mean, Tom Taylor has said before that what he did in Injustice, some of those scenes, I don't want to say did under duress, but he didn't really want to do them. He didn't want to write those characters, and that's why he was so good at it. Because when I've seen him, people have posted pictures of Superman ripping the Joker's heart out on Twitter, and will retweet them and say, he's like, I wrote this, I didn't think of this scene, it's not a scene I would have written, it was what I was given, and I did the best I could with it, and this is not how I see Superman, And I think it's important for him to say that so we understand exactly what is. I mean, you read him on All New Wolverine, you read him elsewhere in Injustice, and you understand that. but Injustice was not his conception, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just it's a video game tie-in. I mean,
exactly.
But
well,
he
it's
did really
more
good.
than that. Yeah.
But yeah, it's really and he ended his run with like an amazing Superman story. Like so, you got to see what he could do with a more straight up Superman.
Well, even Azzarello, when Azzarello and Lee were on it, David Brothers has been posting pages from it, and I haven't read that comic since it came out. I just thought it was really cool that Jim Lee drew Superman doing the Matrix thing with the bullets. Back then, I was like, wow, that's cool. and it's an okay arc. It has a couple cool moments. I'm sure Terrence loves it because Superman gets that, do that again and I'll break your hand thing to Batman. But, it was the Hush clapback. It was the Hush clapback, right? But there's a storyline where Superman is having these conversations with a priest, and it's the whole thing of like he has this obligation to do the right thing and not overstep, and that's what a large part of what Azzarello's story was. And this is the guy that did the New 52 Wonder Woman, right? This is the guy who turned the Themyscians into a rapist cult of, I don't know what you want to call them, right? This is the guy who's on DK3 with Frank Miller, who's writing basically General Zod as ISIS, right? So, so everyone comes back, but a lot of these guys come back around that draw and write nightmarish things, whether I agree with those nightmare visions or not. A lot of the times they come around to this essence of Superman that doesn't evoke that. So a guy like Zack Snyder is working from a very contrarian perspective relative to the comics that he's pulling from.
Yeah, I have no idea. I had no idea why people are saying like this is a movie for the fans. Like
fans
what
of
fans?
I mean, there are people who want this, but they're not for
fans of like really violent like fan fiction, maybe fans of like out of context panels on 4chan, like
I met people who were fresh from seeing that movie and just thought they were like, I've seen it 2 or 3 times already. It's my favorite movie I've ever seen. They're real. They exist.
I definitely wasn't that. I think I might have said that like when the first time I saw like the hype of it, but like I saw it the day after opening weekend. I was like, okay, I can definitely see why people wouldn't like this movie and why people would, because Zack definitely did some like heavy DC mythology stuff in it that I thought I would never see on screen. So that part was cool, but like Superman fans, we go through it. I'm a big Superman fan, and he definitely goes through it. But because he's not like the Superman that we like, oh yeah, that's the Superman. Like he doesn't kill, he doesn't do anything wrong. Like he's the Boy Scout. Like he's not there yet, but I'm pretty sure by Justice League Part 1, we'll probably be there. I need him to be there.
Maybe. Well, that's what they said about Batman vs Superman.
Batman and Pluto. I just want him to slap Pluto. I just want him to slap Batman and Pluto one at a time.
Yeah. Okay. So moving on. We probably want to go a little faster, but we do have a big book next. It's Wonder Woman. It's written by Greg Rucka, art by Liam Sharp, and Nicola Scott is going to be drawing a Wonder Woman Year One kind of story.
Oh, and it could have. They said
we don't know what all the bleeding cool rumors are. I just want to say we don't know how true all those are, the circumstances under them, before we continue with this title. But pick up from there.
They said that maybe Marguerite Bennett was going to write it, and you're right. I don't know if that was ever true or not, but it's such a tantalizing idea. Like even if it's just something someone randomly made up. I'll never be able to get it on my head again for as long as I live.
Yeah, and she's got the bona fides, but the thing that bugs me, and like Rucka had an important run, and it was a solid run, and it was a good run, and it was one of the few times back then that I could ever say that I gave a shit about Wonder Woman, because I feel like so much of her output has either been contrary to what makes the best sense for her, or was being given to me in the wrong context. But I'm going to be writing a lot about this in the next week. Like, I got my copy of Wonder Woman Earth 1 today. I'm still freaking out. Haven't been able to read it, but there's going to be a lot of thoughts on this. But returning Rucka is that safe bet. And what was really interesting is that the guys from the Outhousers pointed out that, like, because the way the Bleeding Cool article went, again, if we follow through this as being true, what they said was that she was in talks to do it or had it, and there was an editorial change, so a different editor, and then they came in and moved Rucka on. That's kind of what I understand. So we could be seeing a lot of editorial department shifts along with this as well. So we'll wait and see where Wonder Woman shakes out, if she's still under the Superman desk or if she gets moved to the Justice League desk. Or somewhere else. I don't know. That may be part of this. But because the Bleeding Cool article is obviously and necessarily vague on some of these points. But so that's kind of what they're saying. And then Rucka came on. And so the phrasing that Bleeding Cool used, which I don't know if they attributed to their source or not, but again, let's pretend they attributed to their source in DC, and the source is valid just to play this out, said that they wanted to go with somebody who was a bigger draw. And
for Pete's sake.
And the word on this, and I think your natural perception among comic book fans would be to believe that Rucka is a bigger draw.
Well, I mean, anyone's a bigger draw than the Finches.
Well, then then Bennett, not than the Finches.
I'm just saying, like, in general, like, anyone could be a bigger draw than the Finches.
No. But the point was that it was a bigger draw relative to Bennett, not to the Finches.
Well, because I have no idea. I still have no idea who Liam Sharp is. Like.
Right, but that's not really relevant.
They needed to get a good artist, like a name writer to pair with a rookie artist, I guess.
I feel like one of these days, somebody at DC or Marvel has to wise up and put Bennett on something unexpected and ambitious.
I was hoping she'd be on one of the Batman books. I mean,
yeah, and like you're right, Rucka is the safe bet, and he is a draw and he's a known quantity, but I just feel like
sorry, let me finish because he's not.
Could have been legendary.
Sorry, I just want to finish the point because he's actually not. Because what the Outhouser guys pointed out, they brought his sales where his last couple big runs ended, where his Punisher and his other things ended. They ended 2,000-3,000 below where Angela Queen of Hell is set to end. So so my point is that in terms of sales in the direct market, not name recognition within the bubble, Marguerite Bennett is a bigger seller than Greg Rucka. But of course we also don't know what Bombshells is selling at in digital because they don't reveal digital sales. So we don't have a full picture of her box office draw, but in recent history, Bennett is a bigger seller than Rucka on a lesser known IP. So that's the thing, is that even the concept of Greg Rucka being a bigger name than Marguerite Bennett isn't true and isn't borne out by the orders that retailers are placing.
In that case, I am outrageously frustrated by the state of affairs.
That's why I wanted to cut you off and correct the perception there. And apologize for that. But the guys at the Outhousers dug up the numbers.
And he did like Cyclops. Like he does. Greg Rucka's a guy who does so many projects.
Yeah, I like him too. But like I like Lazarus a lot. But I've said my piece. I mean, it's so disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as disappointed as some people because I wasn't reading comics when his first run was around.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it's still all new to me. But yeah, cool.
Yeah. The other thing is that the Nicholas Scott issues are his Wonder Woman Earth 1 pitch. That because these are two different arcs, right? And this Wonder Woman Year 1 thing or whatever they're calling it is his old pitch that was the cause of the straw that broke the camel's back. When DC decided they were going to give it to Morrison instead of him, he walked. And now he's doing it again. So we're actually going to be seeing both Wonder Woman Earth 1 pitches simultaneously. So Wednesday, we're going to get Grant Morrison's. And then in June, monthly, because this is a bi-weekly title, remember, we're going to get Rucka's. So to me, it's annoying as hell. I mean, Rucka and Nicholas Scott are going to do great stuff, but it's annoying as hell that we're going to get 3 Wonder Woman origin stories from DC and a movie that revisits her origin in the same year. Because you've got Legend of the Wonder Woman, that great little digital first series, gorgeous little thing. Bombshells didn't really tap into origin at all. They just kind of ran with it, right? But Legend of Wonder Woman dwelled on it. Earth One dwells on it. And we know for a fact that the Rucka Scott issues are going to, because this is that old pitch. So it's just like, what are you doing? Why are we going back to Wonder Woman's origin 4 times?
Because people are gonna be like, oh, I wonder if Wonder Woman has any comics I can read. Here, go. You're a year late. Go get them quickly.
Yeah. Well, you guys remember that you've probably either read or seen the Justice League issue of For the Man Who Has Everything, right? The Alan Moore story.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And Batman is trapped in that cycle where he's just beating the shit out of Joe Chill over and over again. That's what we're gonna. I mean, these are great stories, but that's what it feels like. We're just cycling through her origin, and hopefully they'll be distinctly different enough between all 3 that they're going to illuminate different aspects of Diana. But for the love of God, it's like watching Uncle Ben get shot repeatedly. I don't.
The Waynes. If I have to see the Waynes get shot another time, I'm just.
Yeah, that's the big BBS joke, though, isn't it? Martha.
No, it's like, and they showed in like slow mo, like.
Martha got shot in the face. That was savage.
Oh, fuck.
Like they didn't show it, but like the neck.
They will in the R-rated version, probably.
Like the pearls, the gun, like stretched out the pearls, and then you just see the slow mo gun. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, Rucka kicked his original run off with the Hikatea, right? That was the graphic novel that led in.
I had an ex who like swore by that comic, but I never read it.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it set the tone for his run, and it set the tone for so much of what you could do with her that was worthwhile for the next decade. But it had nothing to do with a frickin' origin. You don't need to set the tone with an origin, and it's the stupidest piece of quote-unquote conventional wisdom in comics.
And movies.
Okay.
Well, in superheroes then, sorry.
No.
So yeah, and we're just gonna like speed things up a little bit. I mean, there's so many. So you got Action Comics, Stan Jurgens, Pat Zurcher, Steven Segovia, Tyler Kirkham.
Yes. Pat Zurcher is doing art. Yes.
Pat Zurcher is an asshole. Pass.
He follows me. He's nice to me.
I just don't care about that team at all.
Yeah,
so. It's safe.
Lex Luthor's Superman is pretty cool, but
I don't know.
Yeah, but it seems like definitely something for like a certain kind of fan, and that fan's not me.
It's what they kept referring to at the panel, the fans.
Yeah, the meat and potatoes.
Like someone who was reading Superman, like when he was getting name dropped on Seinfeld like every night. Like that's kind of like when I was going through the solicits, I'm like, yeah, that's the audience we're going for.
Maybe someone should write a Superman book in character as Jerry Seinfeld.
They should just let Jerry Seinfeld write Superman.
Please, that would be amazing.
But someone else could do it. Like it would be like Superman by Jerry Seinfeld by the actual writer.
How about it should be what's his face? Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh, yeah. Larry David.
Yeah.
We'll make Larry David write Superman.
Larry David writing Superman. Oh my god.
Well, Superman's supposed to be Jewish.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm out.
Yeah, like Terrence is like.
I definitely would not be a Superman fan if that was the stage that he was in.
Okay, we got Detective Comics, James Tynion, Eddie Barrows,
No,
Vera Martinez.
Why is they demoted Red Robin? He was leading a team. Why does he need to be trained?
Hey, we got Batwoman. I'm in.
Tim should be trained.
And spoiler, I mean,
I don't see Bluebird, so automatically Bluebird should have been Birds of Prey, but I digress. But it's like whatever. You don't want me to read
where is
the book.
Harper Row? Did anyone ask about Harper Row at the panel?
No.
It's soon to be Desolation Row.
There were.
Oh my gosh.
She'll come back. James said her story's not done, so she's probably gonna show up in Detective.
She'll show up in Detective somewhere because she's roommates with Spoiler, but.
They're just gonna off-panel reference her, like, oh yeah, she's at college or something.
Didn't she already graduate? Or she's like too cool for college?
She got her GED.
She's already a genius. Like whatever. Cool.
Unpopular opinion, and fight me on this, but it's time for DC to give up on Batwoman.
Oh my gosh.
Throw in the towel. They can't do shit with her. Just give up. Because this is what they do. They think they're throwing red meat. And no offense to James Tynion, he'll probably have a pretty decent voice on Batwoman because he has a decent voice on these characters. He can get to the meat of things.
I mean, at least you have a queer right. Well,
you know what? Sorry, and that's why I'm like I want to call bullshit on that. If the Andraco run hadn't happened, then I would be more amenable to that because I was excited for Andraco.
But Tynion writes queer characters really well, like in Hellblazer and all of his Boom books, like The Woods and Memetic and Cognatic, like.
I know, but it's not about that. It's about them saying that they're throwing red meat to us by putting her somewhere to warm her up for a solo title down the line, and because they're still selling Wolf tickets. Jeff Johns and all the big people at DC are saying we have big plans for Batwoman. Show me, do it. Pull the trigger. Don't. And
get her like leading the Justice League.
But no. Just give her own title again. Just give her own title, where we can actually explore the Kate Kane that we were promised by her original ongoing, and not even by Detective. The first couple Williams Blackman issues, we've never seen that Kate Kane. She got dragged into like this L-word grind of interpersonal drama forever. The point of Kate Kane was supposed to be that she wasn't encumbered by any of this emo bullshit that Bruce is. She could go clubbing, pick up a chick, fight crime, wake up the next morning like, fuck you. That's who Kate was. She was on pace to do like the DKR shit. Like she was gonna just knock someone out. That's who she was when she started out there. They set her up to be a big thing. When Morrison got her in Batman and Robin, and they screwed up that dialogue on that panel, and she said, "I'm the new Batman," everyone fucking bought it because that's how Stewart and Morrison sold her. She was that big. She was that cool. And they never got back to it, and they keep telling us they're trying to get it right. Get it right and do it. Because, I mean, for the love of God, we've read Bombshells. We know who should be on a Batwoman ongoing right now. Who would sell like hotcakes, who knows the character, and would knock it out of the park. I was stunned when Batwoman was not announced as one of the ongoings because I knew there was a big Batwoman thing coming. Rumors have been cycling for ages, so I was like, all right. My thing when Rebirth was still first being talked about, I said, watch for Marguerite Bennett to get Wonder Woman or Batwoman. And the fact that she came out with neither is nuts. I want to love this detective run, but because Cassandra Cain is back in the mix in this, but I don't want to see this co-parent Batwoman
Kid
shit.
Clayface is showing up.
I mean, you guys have seen that the U.S. Women's National Team in soccer is suing, is issuing that lawsuit, right? Yeah. Because they're being paid less than the dudes that they're bringing more revenue in and that are actually ranked higher internationally.
Never even get out of the groups.
They're getting and it's not just that they're being paid less; they're getting paid like a quarter of the amount. Yeah. It's huge.
And people are saying, oh well, they're saying that we should be supporting equal pay and support them because they should be fighting for equal pay. And it's like, fuck you, equal pay. Megan Rapinoe is worth 2 or 3 times what Landon Donovan is worth. You know what I'm saying? Like, to me, the only American male soccer player who is worth the equivalent, like his female equivalent, is the Secretary of Defense. What's his name? The goalie.
Oh, Tim Howard.
Tim Howard. Tim Howard is ill, right? I mean, Hope Solo is a god, but like he's the only one who's 1-to-1. Like, is there a male American Abby Wambach? No, there's not. None of those guys are. And I know that those dudes fight hard and they play soccer in a country that doesn't value it the way that others do. But the U.S. Women's National Team are like the Michael Jordan Bulls. They're like the Steph Curry, like they are that big. And that to me that's what Batwoman is worth. That's what she can do. Until they invest in her like that, I'm not going near it. But on other things, if Kate was not part of this conversation, if it was Bruce with those little birds that he was training, I'd be all on board. But I'm just feeling like no.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it out. I mean, the art looks so cool. Like in the squad, I'm gonna check it out. Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
July, we got Hal Jordan in the Green Lantern Corps.
Cancel it. Cancel
Yep.
it. Go away.
Yeah, it looks so stupid.
The
not
Bella
creative.
Swan of the DCU.
I mean, Hal
look
just
at
like
me
dropped
busting
off. I
through
don't
with
even
my
care
ring.
for him anymore.
My house style art. Oh gosh, Justice League. Brian Hitch, Tony
Woo!
Daniels.
Yes! Tony Daniels doing art. I'm gonna love it. All that's gonna look beautiful.
Yeah, but Brian Hitch writing though, like I've heard people have been like criticizing him like crazy.
I'll just imagine Jeff Johns' name is there where Brian should be.
They should have gotten someone better on like Tom Taylor or someone on Justice League.
No, Tom Taylor's good on Batman, but I mean, like,
hoping that the JLA creative team is better.
I would give Hitch a try as a writer on it without drawing just to see what it's like, but I don't want to see Tony.
Well, they
Daniel
already are giving him it on like JLA is like a mess like right now with him.
Oh, okay. Because unless what is the name of that inker I always talk about? Tony Daniel, the guy from the Balkans. We always talk about.
He's probably inking it. I mean,
if he is, then I'll look at it because when he is inking Tony Daniel, it can be dope. So maybe Tony Daniel. Well, no, Tony Daniel has weird anatomy issues actually, but
yeah, like Wonder Woman's like having
those
some
extended torsos and stuff. But like when he has the right inker, I can deal with him. But I wouldn't be passionate enough about this title to engage like I was on Batman.
Wonder Woman throws a tank. I mean, that looks pretty cool, I guess.
You know my feelings about the whole badass Wonder Woman thing, but anyway.
You know, it's like just trying to get people hyped. It's okay. This is gonna be better though. Nightwing, Tim Seeley, Javi Fernandez, Marcus Toe. I love this solicitors.
Yeah.
I fell in love with the cover.
3 words better than Batman.
Yeah, I fell in love with the cover. Like that cover. Like, oh my god. Yes.
Tim Seeley gets dick. So I mean, this is. Gonna
oh my god, Logan.
Don't forget that, man.
I'm gonna post that on Twitter right now.
Oh my god. We're never getting work at DC ever.
Oh shit.
Seeley.
If DC is afraid to use that as a tagline, that's their loss, you know.
They're not. They are really not. But
it's better than not your dad's Batgirl.
But no, this is gonna be the first time that I've ever bought a comic with the title Nightwing. You know, I bought it with
Grayson, so that technically.
Also, this is so wrong, but like when I tweeted that out, there were 69 characters left.
Perfect.
Logan.
And
you dirty dog.
Midnighter's gonna be in Nightwing's book, at least.
That's what he got. He got shafted.
He better not get like killed off in the first issue.
Oh, I don't think
if they kill Midnighter. No. I'm gonna go like drive up to DC with my
I don't think Tim would ever. I don't think Seeley or King would ever let that happen.
And we're gonna show up with our Midnighter, our issues, and we're gonna like show up with our rocket launchers and just like.
But no, I'm excited. Like I've read a lot of comics with Dick Grayson. It took me a while to come around to him. And when I did, I really liked him. I usually read him in Birds of Prey, stuff like that, back in the day. But especially after Grayson, they really, really brought so much out in him. And Seeley has such a voice for him. Seeley really can cut loose the most on Jason Todd, but he has such a great, strong voice for Dick that I'm happy with this. I think it's going to be cool.
Todd is trash water. We don't mess with him around here.
We do when Genevieve Valentine is writing him.
Oh, so what was it? What was the response at the panel to this title? Well, do you remember? Was there any like?
I don't remember anything standing out to me. I think people cheered for Better Than Batman, but it wasn't like a uproarious. It wasn't one of the more uproarious receptions.
Well, I guess the Dick Grayson fans were somewhere else.
Yeah, I think that would be fair to say.
Okay, that's cool. I understand. It's just so many. Okay. Oh, and speaking, we got Batgirl, Hope Larson, and Raphael Albuquerque.
Maybe because it'll look pretty, but
Hope Larson is seriously talented. Like, she did the Wrinkle in Time graphic novel. Like, she is definitely a good get for DC.
Can I ask an ignorant question?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. There are no ignorant questions.
Well,
here.
just wait. But is it weird to have like Albuquerque, who drew that infamous cover. It's not weird.
Because Albuquerque was asked by someone in publicity to draw that. He's the one who withdrew it. He asked.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He's a really good guy.
DC,
he's good people. I mean, like.
But he's
I'm not saying he's not good people. I'm just like.
But he's the one that asked for it to be taken back. If he had said nothing in all of this, it would have shipped. He said to DC, "Now that I understand the way people are taking this issue, I do not want my art to send that message, so I'm pulling it back." Albuquerque, he's the reason why that cover didn't ship.
Well,
he
then
can
I
do so many different
ignorance.
styles. Like he can go from like American Vampire to like Blue Beetle to Huck to like his time traveling 8. Like he's a boss. Like this book is gonna be amazing. It's gonna be way different than Babstar, but I mean it's still gonna be fun.
Here's where the gas or the air left the balloon for me. The solicit text, the storyline. The backpacking in Asia thing.
Yeah, that's a little
I am not here for that.
Journey. We're doing the Journey West Batgirl style.
Yeah, I don't know. I might peek in, but there are so many.
I really like to focus on like Asia now, like Super League soon. They're going to like Asia with their heroes.
Is it like DC trying to court the Chinese market? Because
not really, because these are all English comics.
I mean, I can understand a certain kind of book might be some attempt to court the Chinese market, but I don't. It's like the Westerner touring the Orient for enlightenment, like a big seller in China. I'm not really sure. Like I don't know.
It's the Eat, Pray, Love thing. It really is.
Oh man, if this book's the Eat, Pray, Love with Batgirl, I'm gonna like drop it so hard.
You know what? I'll pick up the second arc when they get done with this backpacking stuff. I don't want to be too harsh on it because I'm sure Hope will bring some stuff out on it, but I am not about this backpacking through Asia to reconnect.
Yeah, that's weird.
Not interesting.
I hope it's just her like just on like a road trip, you know, like just.
Doubt it.
Yeah, doubt it.
And then like I just remember just like her like globetrotting, and she like goes to some pubs in England and gets in fights and.
Yeah, but if that's what she was doing, cool. But
look at her like tourist backpack.
Yeah, see, I don't know. Yeah.
It's so like yeah. And speaking of it, we got Batgirl: The Birds and Prey, written by Julian Shauna Benson from the 100, and Claire Rowe on art.
They ruined that team for me. That would have been so cool, but
I don't like the costume designs.
Me neither.
Like what's up with the Huntress?
I like Paquette, but these designs are not hot. This is the most heartbreaking of them all. I'm
definitely gonna check out the book, but like, yeah.
You know, but I think it's weird because a lot of people that, like, I'm cool on this for the same reason that a lot of people are hot on it. I have read almost, well, there's a few holes in my Gail Simone, like her second run, that I haven't read, but I've read almost every single title that has had Birds of Prey in it that had Babs in it. Like I didn't read any of the new 52 stuff. Didn't interest me. I love Starling. I think she's amazing, and where the hell is she? But the rest of it, nah. But with that lineup, with those three, I've read pretty much everything. I will defend the Chuck Dixon run to the death, even though he's a homophobe. I don't care. It's a very queer story, and good for you. You accidentally made an amazing queer story out of your homophobia. But,
oh my god, no.
But I love the Dixon run. I love the Simone run. I have read hundreds of issues of those three as the Birds of Prey, and that was my time. That was my era, and it's not that time now. It's that John Peel thing we've been talking about. It's just I don't want to replay the hits. I want a new Birds of Prey that is like Cassandra and Harper and Stephanie and possibly Elysia and Frankie. I don't want to go back to these three. I don't want to go back to the cave. It's backwards, and I'm sick of backwards.
Next, we've got The Hellblazer, written by Simon Oliver, art by Moratat. And
who cares?
Me.
we go from like Tinian, like finally exploring John's bi-side, to another Brit
Oliver is saying he's definitely on board with that.
Yeah, well, I tweeted at him directly about that.
Okay, you did.
I made
Good
sure.
for you.
And also, Swamp. It'll be cool. Like the Swamp Thing mythos is kind of cool, I guess. But hopefully,
I'm here for Moritat especially. I like that dude. He did dope shit on the Harlequin Road Trip issue. He did a great issue of Black Canary with Matthew Rosenberg. That fill-in issue was ill.
All-Star Western back in the day.
Wait, I didn't read any of that, and I cannot wait to see his John Constantine. I am stoked on this. I am 100% on board. I mean, I'm a Constantine super fan. Like, I am a Hellblazer super fan.
Well, yeah, because he's like one of the only 2 LGBT leads at DC right now, so I gotta like support him.
Well, that's not a thing for me, personally. I mean, I've just been reading John for so long, and I love his stories, but I really, I hope this is really good. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, me too. Plus, British writer again could be fun. Does anyone have read? Oh, Bizarro is on Red Hood and the Outlaws.
Get out, Logan. Skip it. Go.
Yeah, Red Hood and the Outlaws is still a thing. Like,
why do they skip it? Who does Scott Lobdell have blackmail stuff on? Because he has never had sales on that title. Like,
Emma talks about me loving Batman vs Superman. They had my family in a bunker somewhere. What about this one?
Yeah, he's got someone's family in a bunker, right? Because it doesn't sell. It has no critical heat. No
fans whatsoever.
It's not that Lobdell's never written a good comic, but he needs to be taken off this book because he's done nothing but bad stuff on it, and it doesn't sell.
Bizarro and Artemis, like, what are you doing? So basically, they moved everybody that Red Hood actually connects with, Starfire and Arsenal. They're like, yeah, we're gonna put you on the Titans, we're gonna put you on the Teen Titans, and we're just Jason Todd. Who are you? Like, you need a crowbar.
Did people boo this book at the panel?
No book got booed. There was nothing remotely like booing.
You sure? Like, did they get like some paper balls ready to like throw?
What's next?
Well, as Terrence was mentioning earlier, we got Titans is next. Got Dan Abnett and Brett Booth, and it seems really continuity heavy and probably gonna pass. Yeah,
it's one of the books that
really
they actually switched it with Justice League, because Justice League 52 or 51 is gonna be a Nightwing in 5 years before story, and it's
the heck.
And the DC Rebirth special that they're selling for $2.99 in its 80 pages is they said Titans is a part of that. So
that's such a Marvel move, but yeah.
And the characters are just so New 52. Like, pass.
Now that I understand Titans, I might pick up
Titans book.
Well, one book I'm definitely not gonna pass on coming out this fall is All-Star Batman, written by Scott Snyder. And we've got the freaking, freaking 95, 96 Bulls on the art. We got, John Romita Jr., Sean Murphy, Jock Tulalote, Declan Shalvey, Afu Richardson, Francesco Francavilla, and Paul Pope.
All of the yes.
And I've got to admit, their 3-second pitch for this at the panel, I was like, it was one of the ones where I was like, okay, I'm going to read that. Because it just sounds good. Like, they pitched it as like a Batman road trip.
In continuity.
Well, this is Snyder's passion project. This is, and again, according to the Bleeding Cool rumors, they thought that this project was dead because according to them, he wanted to leave Batman because he wasn't going to do double shipping. Excuse me. So they were going to move him to detective, and he had this passion project where each arc was going to focus on a different villain, and that he would really leave his final mark on Gotham. And so he was going to do it on Detective, and then they said Detective's double shipping. He said, no, I'm not doing that either. So they were like, well, Snyder's in the wind. He's not going to have anything. So those two pieces are probably true. The third piece was they said, you're Scott Snyder. Fuck it. We'll give you your own book. And so what we're going to see with these art teams is each artist is going to be paired with a different villain focus. And I want to see who they're pairing with who.
Well, Romita's going to do a Two-Face.
Okay. But my thing is, who's Paul Pope getting? Who is
And
Afro Richardson?
they're promising that they're going to make Two-Face as scary as the Joker.
Yeah, well, Snyder's wanted to do a Two-Face story since like
Yes.
2011, so it's going to be good.
Yeah. I want to know who's getting paired with who. I want to know where Tula Lote is shaking out.
Poison
if she
Ivy.
gets Poison Ivy...
Or Catwoman.
Oh,
well,
Tula would like
Tula Lote is a villain that way. I don't think Snyder's going to include her in this the way that Selena shakes out these days. But if she gets Poison Ivy, that is gonna
I want
fly.
Killer Croc to be Jack. That would be savage.
Could be. I almost want to say it's going to be Afro Richardson.
Who's gonna be a Mr. Freeze? Because he's
probably Murphy.
Yeah, it's like watch this book like outsell Batman and Detective.
Are you
like,
kidding? Of course.
Yeah, because
That's not even a
one of my
question.
friends I was talking to on Twitter, he was like, "Is it wrong that we like All-Star Batman more than the regular Batman title?" It's like, no.
This
Where
is a
Scott
prestige
Snyder
title.
goes,
Yeah.
we follow. So just get on with the ride.
It's a boutique book, is what it is, and it's
Yeah,
going to be
it's
something
all-
really
it's-
special.
It's gonna get me through those hard nights of grading and stuff, you know.
Yeah. I think I would like. It's like one of those ones where you could like with confidence pre-order the trade paperback.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, like Romita is definitely an artist I wanted to see on Batman for a while, and yeah.
He'll work well for you.
Yeah. Okay. So scrolling down past all this beautiful art, got Cyborg, written by John Semper, the former showrunner on JJ the Jet Plane, with
My boy survived.
Is that gonna like haunt him his entire career? Like, are you?
with art by Will Conrad and Paul Pelletier. He also I remember him from the Spider-Man '90s show, showing up at the credits at the
At
end.
least it's gonna look pretty when Paul's on, so I'm with it.
Yeah, and then they're having a black writer on it again,
Yes.
which is good.
My boy survived.
Semper has some cool ideas. Like,
Yeah.
I like what I understand to be the kind of his concept behind it.
Yeah. He's animation, so I think he's going to have, a more imaginative structure, a better grasp of that. Because if you look at Walker, his first arc, he had great moments for Vic, but the overall idea was kind of shaky, didn't work too well, he didn't catch fire. But then you sent him off to Power Man and Iron Fist, and he knocked it out of the park within 3 panels. He's
Because he was finally I'm away from them DC weirdos.
he's just found better voices for characters that
Oh, his
play well
Shaft
to
is
him,
so good.
right?
Like
Point
he
being-
was born to write Shaft. I mean,
Exactly. So he gets those, and Fiddle Faddle Luke Cage is the best Luke Cage I've ever read. Ever. So, I mean, Walker wasn't the right guy for Cyborg. He is the right guy for Power Man. But thank God DC held firm and found who looks to be the right guy for Cyborg.
yeah. John Semper loves superheroes. I mean, he's super experienced. I mean, he can do everything from anthropomorphic planes to Static Shock.
Well, especially the Static Shock heritage. That is a big get.
He won a NAACP Image Award. For that.
NCAA.
Oh my gosh, I can't with these acronyms.
You're such a jock.
Yeah, well, sorry, Final Four this weekend. I mean, gosh, go Orange. Yeah. So yeah, Cyborg should still continue to be good. We got Deathstroke, Christopher Priest, and some artists Carlo Pagulian, Igor Vitorino, and Felipe Watanabe.
I'll read it if I have to.
I mean, mostly it'd be Deathstroke, again, but Priest on Deathstroke. Brings the action, brings the humor. He's one of the best comics writers. I
could almost give it up. Sorry, not give it up, but I almost resisted because I just don't care about Deathstroke. So, I'm really intrigued about the fact that they brought him back. He's the one, holy shit moment in this whole thing. Stelfreeze coming back for Black Panther, because Stelfreeze is so reclusive. So I was Deathstroke, what am I even going to find for myself in this book? But then ACO has revealed his character designs. There isn't just a new design for Deathstroke. There's a new design for Ravager. And so I'm like, okay, fuck, now I'm in. If they're hyping her design, the fact that Little Miss Rose Wilson Worth is coming back and is going to be a serious character, I'm in. Because she is amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna check it out because of Priest. I mean, that's pretty much.
Priest plus Ravager, I'm there.
Yeah, and we got Harley Quinn, same team. Like,
Changes. But 2 of their key ingredients are locked down to hardcore exclusives. Connor is exclusive to DC, and so is John Timms. So they are committed to this book.
just like tearing up the market. Like,
Yep. And it's only going to get hotter when the movie pops.
Yeah.
It's.
Oh my God!
They're gonna be selling this book at the grocery store. I mean,
so
fuck
cinematic. I almost threw that book away. I look so cinematic, and I wasn't even reading it. I read it digitally, almost through my phone.
oh come on!
I'm so excited for like Harley Quinn to get even bigger because like if you look at all the on-screen, the very few on-screen female superheroes we have going on right now, they're all very like serious, like competent, serious women, you know, and they're not like
Jessica Jones though.
Well, yeah,
She
I
kinda
actually
is,
Jessica
well-
Jones. I should leave it out, but like,
But she's
feel
still tonally grim. The
she's
tone
totally
of
grim. I'm not talking about tone. I'm just talking about like variety and the type of character. Because like I was just complaining about this to someone the other day, and this is part of one of the things I like about Jessica Jones. But leaving Jessica aside, everyone is just like competence is their main character trait.
their competence fantasies, yeah.
Yes, they are competent, which is fine. Like I think it's nice to have those, but it's so weird that we have such a wide variety of like lovable male doofuses, and you know.
That's one thing I like about TV Supergirl is she's like kind of a doofus too.
She's kind of a doofus, but she's not a mess, you know. But I think it's good that we have a range, you know. Like she's a doofus in the same way that like a golden retriever puppy is a doofus.
Oh yeah.
Like you
Golden
saw.
retrievers are adorable.
Basically, her episode with the Flash was just like the TV equivalent of cuddling puppies.
But yeah, there's kind of that one mode of competence fantasy for women, and that carries.
Oh, like Black Widow, kind of.
Black Widow, yeah. Maria Hill.
It goes beyond superheroes. It
Wonder
really
Woman.
does, because as much as I love this show, and I know Terrence is going to get riled up as soon as I mention it, but Olivia Pope. What's what's her name? Viola Davis's character.
Terrence is like, this is not. I'm not gonna give you that.
I heard scandal references.
And anyway, but Viola Davis in.
How to Get Away with Murder.
What's her character's name?
What's the girl's name?
Keating, Annabelle Keating.
Yeah, Annalise Keating.
Annalise Keating, sorry. Yeah. Annalise Keating and The Good Wife, her, and all of
Phoenix,
they all kind of, even you get into Gillian Anderson in The Fall and stuff like that, it's all, a lot of it is these competence fantasies. You don't get that. There's no Sailor Venus. Where's the Sailor Venus? Where's the dirtbag, right?
Yeah.
And you only really have Lena Dunham for that, and it's just like, oh my God.
Hey, got my Broad City squad.
Sorry, Broad City. Yeah. My bad.
My squad.
But that's kind of where we are in this, and those are sitcoms. There's totally different categories. So, the rise of Harley is amazing, and I'm so
Yeah, I think it's so weird that it's like a pretty novel concept, but like, women who aren't good people who we're still supposed to like and find charming is like, I'm here for that.
Yeah.
I mean, she's the top selling female protagonist in comics. She outsells Ms. Marvel and Squirrel Girl. It's nuts.
Dude, outsells like Justice League. Okay, and then like we got Justice League America. Did they give any information about this book at the panel?
No, this book. That book is important. It comes out on my birthday. That book is important.
Okay. I guess.
Not 14.
Who's
I
on
want
it?
my gifts early.
There's
They
no
didn't announce it.
information, no creative team.
Oh,
We
well,
do have Suicide Squad though. It's Rob Williams, Jim Lee, and Philip Tan.
Hell yes.
Oh yeah.
But
Am I really gonna be
Suicide
decisive?
Squad's like an
What if I
A-list
see?
book now. Like
yes, it is.
It used to be
Suicide
like the book that,
Squad,
like-
basically, they was like, oh yeah, Katana's in there, Rick Flag is in there, so the movie. So it's
the movie team, yeah. It's
Like
'cause
don't try to like color it. It's the movie. Rick Flag is there. Who cares about
It's
it?
nice that this book's like an A, like, because I remember I read the like New 52 one like freshman year of my roommate, and it was just like completely just no one cared about it. We were like the only ones at the store who bought it. Like,
It was not a good book, and it was the nadir of Harley Quinn.
yeah, it
Like,
was so bad. I read like 9. Like, I stopped reading it when like they dipped Harley Quinn in Bleach. I'm like, this is so stupid. King Shark was hilarious though.
When I caught that, I had to pause the trailer when they did it. I was so stunned, but I'm excited because I want to see what they do with it there. I was like, oh my god, they're doing it. I couldn't believe it the first time I saw that trailer. I was like, they're going there. Because you see the Joker dive and you're like, yeah, whatever, it's the Joker. You see Harley and you're like, shit, they're doing it, right? And then Connor Palmiotti came on, and now we have what we have. But I'm reconciled to the fact that there will be probably never another Ostrander Yale Suicide Squad. That was such a special book and so important to the mid '90s because we think about the British invasion and Gaiman and Moore and Miller and these guys, but Suicide Squad at that time was such an important special book, and I like the fact that they're not even going to even try to recapture that. And Rob Williams is the guy to bring out the modern Suicide Squad feel. A lot of people don't really know him, or they know that he did Martian Manhunter, or they know that he did Unfollowed.
Yep, Unfollowed. That's all I read. Yeah.
I read a couple issues. I'm not keen on it, but Rob
It's such a slow burn, though. Yeah.
Is the guy who picked up Dakin, or Dokken, I think is how you're actually supposed to say it, after Marjorie.
Dokken's a hair metal band.
And Way. Wasn't it Way that she was co-writing Dokken with back then?
Dokken.
But he was the one who picked him up, moved him to LA, had that amazing run that had all those drug trip sequences that Riley Rossmo of Hellblazer fame drew. So I want to see Rob get back to that and really bring it. I think he could do something really special.
Oh, he also did this really weird book for Vertigo where the royal family of England fights against Nazis.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
That was an
really,
actual book, Royals Master of War.
I want to see what he brought to Dark Wolverine. I think that's what he's going to go back to. And if he does it, if he taps into that, it's going to blow people away. And with Jim Lee on it, doing the best work of his career, yeah.
Does anybody care about Batman Beyond? Or is that character, so
what?
2000?
They didn't cancel that? Because what? I'm confused.
Do you know why I hate
Batman in the title. You don't...
Do you know why I hate Batman Beyond?
It was a good animated show, but I mean,
No, I have an irrational... Well, it's rational to me, but people think it's an irrational hatred of Batman Beyond because every time I wear my Kate Kane t-shirt, the t-shirt with the Kate Kane red Bat logo, hey, I loved Batman Beyond too. Asshole.
Right.
Every time.
Don't try to straight wash all the heroes.
It's a different. I know that it's an honest mistake, but it's a different shaped bat. Just because it's a red bat has to be Batman Beyond. But it's the Graffiti Designs Kate Kane T-shirt. It's one of a kind. It's like my Spoiler Batgirl T-shirt.
You have a spoiler. Where did you get a spoiler T-shirt? Is this a Canada thing?
No, it was for Graffiti. They ran it.
Oh yeah, I love Graffiti.
Hell.
That's where I got my DKR.
He said it was a Canada thing.
No, but it was. I have all the Stephanie Brown merch. There's not very much of it, but I have all of it. But
Blue Beetle, Keith Giffen, Scott Collins.
Ted Kord's in it. I might read it.
Jaime Reyes could easily be DC's Spider-Man.
He was. He was.
I know. I love that John Romita's run. It's so underrated.
Underrated by people who haven't read it. Anybody who did read it, it's not.
Yeah, but it's not like books to get into DC Comics. It should definitely be on one of those lists. And you see Raphael Albuquerque on it too.
Yeah, I stopped giving a shit about Peter Parker for the last time in my life when I read Blue Beetle. No, I read Jaime, and I said, "Oh my God, I am never ever gonna have to read Peter Parker again in my life. This is it."
Were people
DC
getting hyped up for Jaime at the panel, or did he get some cheers, or no?
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
That run, like Jaime, like they talk about the quote unquote the problem and how DC was always trying to copy Marvel. They struck lightning with Jaime. He was it. That Rogers run was.
I just want to skip through all these and like get to this one special book.
What's after Blue Beetle?
Oh.
Blue Beetle did get big cheers though.
Yeah.
Earth 2, meh. Gotham Academy next semester. What?
Well, yeah, and before that happens, we're getting
Lumberjanes crossover. I still can't believe this is even happening. Like,
yeah.
Well, you know what? At least in principle, Mr. Fletcher endorses.
Oh, Jeremy Cox is cool. He does colors on Midnighter.
And Grayson.
Yeah, I know that name. Yeah.
I know. Yeah, Delgado has done a ton of shit with Humberto Ramos.
Oh yeah, well. Yeah. I think I like said not nice things about him on X-Men once.
But
yeah, we got the one I've been waiting for this whole time ever. Supergirl, Steve Orlando, Brian Ching. Oh yeah, it's gonna be so odd. She's like gonna.
We'll see. Yeah, I'm gonna wait and see on that.
It's gonna be so fun. She's like gonna do fun stuff, and we're gonna see what's her Orlando write like a lighter character.
I like Orlando a lot. Obviously, I would have preferred to see a female writer on Supergirl, especially since Sterling Gates did the digital first. So it's just kind of like, why?
Steve Orlando's gonna slay though.
I know. I like him. It's a genuine. What do you call it? It's a conflict for me. I mean, because Margaret Bennett was just tweeting that she's just been offered I can't remember if she said black specifically or non-white, but she's been offered a character that she's wanted to do for a long time, and she doesn't know if she should take it because it should go to a non-white writer. And it's like where she is in her career and what she just got what she supposedly lost. Take it and pay it back when you are the next Scott Snyder and you get the pull, is my opinion on that. But it is a genuine concern, and it's a big ethical quandary. So, I mean, I wish Orlando all the best. I will give this book a shot, but it's frustrating.
I have a question about Steve Orlando. The only things I've ever read by him were Virgil and Midnighter. Has he ever done anything like light and fluffy and comedic like this before?
I mean, I know he's doing backups on the Power Rangers books, so I'm assuming.
Well, his issues with Batman and Robin Eternal, he had some of the lighter stuff.
Oh, okay.
He has a distinct voice for like for Harper Row and Cassandra Cain.
It'll be okay. I mean,
and I don't doubt he can do it because, like, Midnighter was funny in a way that convinces me that he can do, other kinds of humor too. Like. I'm
hyped. I'm gonna see him at Tidewater Comic Con and like I'm gonna get some Supergirl merch before. Yeah, he's so happy. I'm so happy that he's on a high profile book, and even after Midnighter got canceled. It's good. Then we have Superwoman. Like, I like Phil Jimenez, but
I built myself up for something that I shouldn't have. I think a lot of us did.
I just have no idea who this character is, so.
Everybody wanted it to be
twist.
Yeah, I mean, everybody wanted.
Oh my God, Super Sons. What's his name? Like, Superboy looks like he's 3.
Well,
It looks cute though.
Yeah,
it looks like a cute book. I mean,
I trust Gleason with these guys to make it fun. I was excited.
Yeah, who's the artist on the promo art?
I can't remember.
Is it Pat? Because it's super cartoony and I like it. And I think there's Hugo Strange in the background.
I want to give it a shot. I like it.
Yeah, it looks really. Superboy looks like a little anime character. It's like Damian has a flying.
Wiccan, he looks like an anime character.
Teen Titans, written by Ben Percy, art by John Boy Myers, led by Damian.
I just saw the movie, so pass.
Starfire looks like porn tracing.
Which she looked like in that cartoon too. I was like, yikes.
Yeah, this is just like really. The character designs look like Aspen or something. I don't know. It's not good.
Yeah, I'm not. I mean, I liked when Damien was with the Teen Titans last time, like way back in 2010 or whatever. Like him and Ravager, those two, like they were hilarious.
They look like the female characters look like they're like 8, but they have like the bodies of like women. I don't even know. It's like it just there's something with the art that just yeah. Speaking of art, we got Trinity with Francis Manapul and Clay Mann, which is like really different art styles.
Yeah,
and it's our last. Super stiff, super kinetic, like cool. So yeah, those are last titles.
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Nice, I guess.
How many titles did everybody come out with that they actually want to read?
Oh, I have a Word doc about that I'm just gonna pull up.
I have a cue card, but the writing on it is small.
What's your number tally?
20.
Okay, let me count.
If I end up changing my mind, it's about 20 tops.
I got probably 18 or, depending on the creative teams, like 18 or 19 starting out. But I'm really one of those people who will like read one issue of a book and then drop it.
Well, sales show that you are the norm. You know, issue 2 drop off is like what, 50% typically.
Yeah, like those shiny number 1s are just like so tempting.
I'm at 7 pending good reviews that tell me to read others.
Wow, I can't believe that I don't have the smallest number. I'm at 10.
Oh. I mean, yeah, like some of my maybes, I need to see the creative teams on Super Sons and JLA before I make a decision on them. Because like Super Sons, like the concept, I'll check it out. But like if the creative teams like Cullen Bunn and like I don't know, like I'm trying to think of a creative like Brian Wood or something's on it, and like
I don't think Wood's ever coming back to the big 2. I think he's just gonna camp out at Dark Horse doing the stuff that he's doing. They've got him on like 3 different titles. He's doing that Viking stuff. He's doing the Alien stuff. He's doing Starve. Starve is with Image. Yeah, I think he's just gonna camp out for the rest of his career doing kind of licensed stuff and mid-range creator owned.
Cool. So I mean, it could have been like terrible, but it could have been better, I guess.
Well, it's like what Moll said about Arrow, about never meeting a challenge that they didn't shrink from. And that's kind of what this feels like. There's so many opportunities that they just, to take a risk, and they said no. Wonder Woman, I think, stands out to me, and I've said this before, but that's the one that could carry the biggest heat and could make the biggest impact in someone's career. The movie is coming. Grant Morrison's graphic novel is coming out within days. There's going to be more attention on Wonder Woman than there ever has been. You don't need a more established name. Even if Rucka sold 5 or 10,000 issues more on average than Marguerite Bennett, it doesn't matter. That differential will get swallowed up in the fact that it's Wonder Woman at peak media saturation. Yeah. It doesn't matter. So you make your next star. Because if DC wanted to make Bennett their star, this is their opportunity. Angela is done. Wonder Woman's opportunity. If she gets a huge hit with them, she's going to be feeling real good about working with them, and DC's going to have huge credibility to say that we gave her first serious breakthrough hit after, her cult following that she established on Red Sonja and Bombshells and all that.
Red Sonja is so good. Thank you, Dynamite.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Dynamite.
Her and Kate Leth just like chilling out.
Yeah, but remember why they're on there. It's because they were handpicked by Gail Simone. Because the keys to the castle to the company were turned over to Gail. Gail went to Nicholas Scott for the costumes, and then she chose those teams for those books, which they took a big risk, and they're reaping the rewards. And like I said, they need to catch up and take more risks art-wise, but you see that progress. DC, they have let a lot of their most transformative voices just walk.
Yeah, like where's Ming Doyle?
That have just walked. Yeah, Ming Doyle's with Kate Leth on some weird tie-in on
Jet
something
City Comics. Like, what the heck is this?
They're stoked about it. It's probably gonna be fun, but they walked. They let Team Batgirl walk out
I
the
don't know.
door.
Image is pretty much like creative freedom, bros.
I know, but they let Team Batgirl walk. All three of them. Cameron Stewart's next gig that he lined up as soon as Fight Club was done was a shitload of variant covers for Marvel. Stewart came up through DC, had a lot of his biggest stuff at DC, and he's just been
all go to Marvel, like Mark Waid did, Amy Reeder. I'm trying to think.
He's been hot and cold on them, and they don't commit to him, and it's so bizarre. I mean, I don't know. Maybe that was his conditions on Batgirl that he didn't want to stick around too much longer after that, and just wanted to limit engagement. I don't know, but the fact that Babs Tarr and Cameron Stewart walking out of DC with nothing new at that company out of Rebirth is that shit. I mean, obviously, all three of them have something coming from Image. We've known.
The Expo is gonna be lit.
Yeah, when they were booked at the Expo, I was like, shit, they're off Batgirl. That was my first thought. I was like, no, especially Babs. Babs showing up means that they're done because she can't do more than one or two books. Her style and her newness to the industry. To me, when all three got announced, I was like, that's it. This run is over. So I've been getting ready to say goodbye for a while. And you kind of always have to have one foot out the door with a big two. You do. You can't get too attached. You need one foot out the door or you're going to get your heart broken. The other thing that's nuts to me is Genevieve Valentine is out the door and down the street.
Yeah! She's on Xena now.
Which is, again, dope. There you go, dynamite. But, really? Are you shitting me? She's out the... Scott Lobdell has a book. And these are the people that are walking.
Yeah, and
Walker. David F. Walker is done and gone from DC.
He's probably going to be Marvel exclusive. I mean...
Well, are they even going to think that he's too dangerous not to sign? I don't know if they'll give him an exclusive. They should, and they should give him that money. He's worth it, but I don't know if they're going to see that much value in him. I hope they do.
And Lansing and Kelly, who were on Eternal, are gone. I mean, they're not as good, but I mean.
Yeah, but I'm talking about the really transformative folks, like Orlando. Thank God he's on Supergirl, because if Orlando had been out there.
I mean, he's exclusive at DC now, which is good.
That's right.
He was on JLA. I would be he better be on JLA.
But that's wild to me. The fact that I'm guessing that Gail Simone is at a point in her career that she's not chasing those big postings. Especially since you just asked Twitter, what characters would you want to see me on that I haven't done yet on a tenure, on Twitter. So she is happy as hell in Clean Room.
I want to see her on Deadpool again.
Clean Room is a whole new level to her career. She's doing great stuff on leaving Metropolis. Not Metropolis, leaving the hell's the name of the city?
Megalopolis.
It's a great series.
Metropolis is a great title, though. Can I just say?
She's doing great stuff. She's got under her own power. Maybe she's not chasing this stuff. It's weird to not have her on a tentpole, and the fact that she doesn't have a mainline DC title anymore. Yeah. Secret Six is out the door. So it's nuts to be back at that stage. But we've been at this stage before, when they ended Birds of Prey for a couple of years, and she wasn't there. And Jeff Johns was like, "Man, I feel like there's a hole in the heart of DC without a Birds of Prey book." So we're back to that, and it's weird that she's not considered part of the core structure of the company, because she should be.
Yeah. So although our consensus is obviously that DC has played it painfully safe with Rebirth, I think it is important to talk about their commitment to lower prices now. That every book is going to be $2.99, I think is actually a pretty bold, important move. I think it's going to be super successful for them, actually.
Well, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, because a lot of those are double shipping books.
Yeah.
Right? So they're making up a certain amount. The net is cheaper. The net cost is cheaper. If you were buying Batman at whatever it costs monthly, and then you start buying it at double shipping, then you're saving yourself $1, actually, I think is what it works out to.
But I think just also in terms of getting comics in the hands of people who don't currently buy a lot of single issues for whatever reason, either because they're veteran comic readers who wait for trade paperbacks, or whether they're brand new comic readers who you want to be able to just buy their first issue of something. I think it makes a huge difference, that price difference, especially compared to what Marvel is charging now.
Maybe, maybe not, but I don't think you're going to achieve any outreach. You're going to get the Pepsi Coke thing, where people who are buying much Marvel and sick or spending that money might shift over. I don't think you're going to get new readers or comics adjacent readers out of this, and that's the problem. Because double shipping presents a couple of huge issues. One of them is, remember, we're still dealing with a direct market here. These are issues of books being sent to comic book stores, and the sales that we track are all based on orders placed by the retailers, not by what makes it to somebody's hands. So there's such an opacity over what people buy, what people don't. And there's nothing that's going to get someone who hasn't already walked into a comic book store to walk into a comic book store for the first time out of this line. Nothing. Like, I came back in 2014 to DC 14 Batgirl. I was pulled back into the stores when I had been out since 2011. Right? That's what happened. I walked back into a comic book store. I would go every 2-3 months and maybe pick up bits and pieces there. But what really got me back was that team. They don't have a single team in this lineup that's going to pull people in that aren't already frequently there. The other problem with double shipping is, I mean, thank God they're going for 2 artists on every double shipping title, because those are a nightmare. Marvel's not doing that. Like on All New Wolverine, the David Navarrete and David Lopez, those guys are heroes. I don't know how many years off their life they shaved by doing that, but they delivered an incredible output for double shipping. Those guys are heroes. But it's bad for your health, it's bad for your career, it's bad. Double shipping is bad for creators.
I think it also, I mean, when they're splitting between 2 artists like this, I think it really might start to impact the kind of story that they're able to tell. Because like, I think it's so tempting to do the obvious thing, which is like a flashback, flash forward thing, or like to do something that alternates between 2 different locations or 2 different subplots, which is fine and everything, and that kind of narrative has its strengths, but I fear that could get a little monotonous.
Well, the other issue is that DC, maybe Marvel is a different story. DC doesn't give a fuck about trade waiting anymore. And that's the other problem with double shipping, is that, like, at Marvel, they still care about trade sales, because there's books that sell like dog shit monthly that take off in trade that they're still sticking by. Ms. Marvel is not a very good seller in singles. And Squirrel Girl has cooled to a point as well. It's still a good seller, but there's a couple of books that sell like dog shit in singles, but they take off in trades, so Marvel lets them live. You know, we used to, like, the belief on the margin was if you fall below 20,000 titles, you're going to get canceled. That threshold has been dropped. That's not true anymore. 14,000 is what we expect people to I think, to break even on a Big 2 title. On an indie one, it's something like 8. But there's titles that drop below 14 that stay alive.
Like Captain Marvel, like, somehow it survived. Like,
trades.
I'm happy, but yeah.
But DC, and this is the big thing, and a couple of creators favorited my tweet on this one, and I'm not going to say who because it's not fair to shout them out, but the DCU, like, and I've said this before, and you know, DC has been very generous in the copies of stuff they send me. I get a ton of shit, a ton of great stuff, and they have, one of the things they've been really, really big about is sending me all of the DCU trades. I have all of them. I have Doom.
Oh yeah, DC did some good stuff with NetGalley with the Midnighter, like getting.
It did.
Yeah.
But the problem is when they were pushing out the Midnighter trade, when they sent me all of these trades, these titles had already been canceled. Right? These titles had already been stopped. Like, by the time that I got Dr. Fate, and I didn't get a copy of Black Canary, which, whatever, that's fine. But the ones that I did get, a whole bunch of them, like Midnighter, they were pretty much already, we knew that they had been canceled by the time the trades came out. Because what used to happen is that the conventional wisdom, you let them make it to trade, you see how they do in trade. If their first trade sales take off, you let the title live. If it doesn't pick up in trade, you cut it off after that arc. They did not let any of these titles prove themselves in trade. Black Canary didn't get a chance to prove itself. Dr. Fate didn't. And one of the things that actually Cameron Stewart said, that he was saying what they learned on Batgirl was that it does gangbusters in trade sales. And yet they're chopping off Burnside at the knees because DC seems to be focused at what can we sell in the direct market. Everything about the strategy says, what can we sell in the direct market? How can we improve our performance in the direct market? Fuck the direct market. Fuck it. And I've said this before. I don't know what the digital numbers are, but book sales is where you have to aggressively pursue this. That's where the real money is. That's where the real readers are. That's where they're reading Raina Tegelmeier. That's where they're reading all of this shit. That's where Attack on Titan can't be beat in sales that are way above anything that Scott Snyder's Batman has ever sold in trade. As great as it is, that's where the real audience, the real market for all of this is. Because the direct market is a nightmare system. You can have a great store that you love and are loyal to, but it's a nightmare system with a BS monopoly distributor that is so opaque in terms of understanding what the end user actually likes that it's doubling down on the direct market is a nut bar strategy.
So does anybody have any closing thoughts on Rebirth? Or
hopefully all the titles I picked don't suck.
Yeah, I mean, I think I definitely have a few sure bets on there, but you're really interested in seeing like how Janet and Finch switch off on Batman. Yeah. And like whatever happens to the Justice League books and Greg Rucka on Wonder Woman again, and yeah, there's definitely some potential there, I guess. Yeah. So, any closing thoughts on Fantheon as a podcast? Because
this was my first legit official podcast.
Me too.
So we'll definitely be back, but we have to go through the Secret Wars arc.
I know. I have to
It's Winter Soldier time.
Yeah, I have to pull Dick Grayson and move to the Midwest. So.
Except you didn't get killed off. You just went that way.
Hey, maybe I could fake my own death. It's way too.
So you can finally let Steve know I'm ready. Like I'm here.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I mean, but we pulled out a whole bunch of neat stuff and had neat conversations, and I think that the library is going to stand on its own for some of the stuff that we had, the people we had on, the conversations that we had.
Yeah, we had people like Jam, way before she was getting picked up on NPR and stuff.
Yeah, we had Laura Snedden on that one too. That was a big one. We had a lot of great productive conversations. I did that wacky little issue. The wacky little special we did on the first island. It was a lot of fun.
An annual issue.
Oh yeah, we do have annual issues because we had a zero issue.
Comic book. We are a legitimate comic book made real.
The zero issue we were so rough back then. We even had a host that we don't really like to talk about.
But we had I had the Batgirl wedding episode that we got in deep about Dick and Babs and their
the Rainbow Hub was such a good back when the Rainbow Hub was a thing, was such a good resource for getting.
But that wasn't even kind of. But I mean, we actually didn't pull from a lot of our folks to get that. I mean, present company included. But that was when I did the wedding thing for Batgirl. That was Teeny that we brought on. That was Matt, who's my current editor, and we had him on a couple times. That was another great episode when we had him on the first time, and we're really talking intergenerational queer representation in comics. That was one of our.
Oh yeah, that was so cool. The young guy and stuff.
That was wild. To get to talk about that and the Invisibles across all three of us, the one thing that we all our experiences with all of that, and some of the radical queer comics that Matt brought up that are just so far outside of the mainstream in the current conversation, and when we had the guys from the the Artists Against Police Brutality.
I know. I was so pissed. I had to work that night.
Yeah, we had Daryl on. That was we had Daryl on a couple times, and those were always great issues or episodes.
Don't forget all our Wickdiv issues of all the Wickdiv fans, including Marta Maria.
Yeah, Marta Maria's episode was great because she picked a brutal time to come on because that was the Airboy episode.
Oh yeah.
We had, and then we followed that up with a strange fruit episode. That was 2 weeks in a row. That was the summer of 2015 was fucked up, my friends. It was nuts, and I have a tattoo to prove that I survived it. Can
we not do that again, comics, please?
Yeah, let's try not to. Well, I can tell you what comic is not going to do it. Bitch Planet number 7.
Have you already read it?
Well, it's still being created, but remember, I'm under a non-disclosure agreement with Milford Colonel Masterminds.
Cool.
But I've been consulting with 2 other trans women on that issue.
If you say anything about it, does the Darsky hunt you down?
Does the Darsky hunt me down? Yeah, probably.
It's
Kit Cox. It's Kit.
Was he at? No, he wasn't at WonderCon. He doesn't really go to many conventions. I was so blessed to meet him in New York.
It's going to be special because I've seen the whole creative process through that issue. I'm allowed to say that I'm consulting, but not really the details. But getting to see rough pencils from Valentine Delandro and how humble and receptive to direction from people who aren't pros is nuts. I mean, even getting to talk to Kelly Sue and the way that she approaches this and the way that she really listens, and to see it evolve, to see the script and to see how she accounts for the things that, like, we each work with her one-on-one, but the way that we've all talked to her, the way that she takes into account, to start to see the results of that is incredible. So there will be another Airboy, or there will be a situation like Gem where you have the best intentions, but you don't have the best execution, the best resources to get the execution, and things fall by the wayside. It's going to happen, and it's going to keep happening. But the thing is, and I've worked on a couple other things, had some conversations on creator own stuff otherwise, and every time that someone like that, the Kelly Sue DeConnick or anybody else that I've worked with says, I don't know enough about this, I need to know more, and we workshop it and we get through it and it works, that's where the progress gets made. I hate being reactive, having to write those reviews and trash it, and not trash, but really have to go in on a series that I otherwise love. I mean, Gem 13 is incredible. When we talk about the size of panels and how it affects pacing and drawing the eye through an issue, what Sophie and Kelly did on that issue was really special. It's the best issue of the series so far, and I'm so glad that they rebounded. I'm so glad. Rio comes back into the foreground. They even find a way to bring pizzazz in for one page. And that's the thing. That's what you want. You want them to rebound. You want them to learn. You want them to move forward and do better. And these mistakes will happen, and you will get belligerent teams who don't give a shit who will do it. But it's going to be a long haul, and we're going to see stuff like that again. But there's conversations, and there's mechanisms to do better in the places that matter.
Yeah, well, speaking of Jim, that's how I got you for the podcast. Looking for some new co-hosts. I was on the run. It was my Bruce Wayne fugitive days.
I was the Black Marvel diversity counter, so that's why I'm here.
You basically are Blue Marvel. You're just like that dude that's yeah.
Yeah. It was super genius, and slowly but surely
has more Twitter followers than all of us put together for some reason. I look at your Twitter follower account and I'm like, how does this happen?
I talk a lot, a lot about a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Cool. Right. So
that was a neg, Logan. That was I learned.
That was a neg. Hey, quality over quantity, though. I bet you guys carefully curate your Twitter followers. A sex bot follow me. Whatever, I don't care.
Actually, chat is terrible.
I had way fewer bots than I thought. I actually checked it. There's a little site that'll tell you how many bots you have. But I consider my Twitter presence and my writing presence in general to be a boutique kind of a thing. I'm not really like a mass follower kind of a person. You know, I'm never going to be the equivalent of Chris Sims, someone who reaches this massive thing and can speak broadly on all of these things in a way that you want to check out what he does. I'm too specialized and too focused to really kind of catch a broad thing, but I'm really happy with the people who read my stuff and the way they talk about it. So
plus your Team Iron Man, so it's good.
Exactly. But if if I can achieve so much with so much of a smaller audience, then I know that I've got solid engagement, and that to me is what matters.
I love when porn blogs follow me on Tumblr, because I just like to imagine some pervert in their basement, like, looking at my pictures of, like, Spider-Man and, like, just, you know, having a nice day.
Gotta
like,
say, I think that conversation wouldn't go that way at all.
My Tumblr's like a dark hole. Nobody knows it exists. I mean, God, if anybody had any idea what my Tumblr account was when the Gem 12 review went up, holy shit, would that have been a nightmare.
I'm not gonna say
I fly under the radar.
I'm just not gonna say what my Tumblr timeline looks like.
We all know what it's like.
No, you don't.
Yeah, it's probably exactly like what Kanye's is.
Oh, speaking of it, Kanye, you can actually finally listen to his album, finally.
Yeah, after saying it's never, ever, 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 ever going to be on Apple Music or any other streaming services while I jam to The Life of Pablo on Spotify tonight.
Yeah. Oh, wait, let's as a final point, before we count ourselves out, talk about the Chris Anka Wictive cover, since I think you guys are probably going to be...
I want to get the cover, but I'm going to get so many questions if I do, so I'm just going to, like, try to...
I need a poster of it, like...
Think of me every time you look at that post.
He's gonna develop some. He's gonna catch some feelings for you then, Terrence.
I'm just gonna like hang it up and just, yeah. I really need. I really need some like I need like a Wictive shrine once I like move out. Like, yeah.
Get the Inanna tattoo.
I'm just like, so this is what people who like dudes think. When they like what? No, sorry. Let me rephrase that better.
It was like that cover is way too hot. Like, how did they get away with that? Like,
it's okay. Let me put it this way. It's like my understanding of it is it's like Anka's Carol Danvers for people who like dudes.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
I don't even like dudes, but I'm like, God dang it, Paul. The other time you get a cover, god dang it.
He's like sweaty and like he has a little bulge going, like it's like
that's the problem. I was like, oh ball, I can't get this cover and have it in my room.
Anka could just change his middle name to Abs, you know, as like a career
Chris
move.
Abs Anka.
He needs to be in like
Abacus. Chris Abacus.
But he's already got the steak and sourdough thing going for him.
Oh yeah. But steak and sourdough.
Have you seen his Mad Max Fury Road tattoo? He is committed. Anka is committed. He's got the friggin' like that. I can't figure out how to describe it. But he's committed. Cool dude.
Yeah. Oh man.
I'm gonna say, bless the man. I think he's doing the world a service.
I bought the only issue of. Sorry, not the only issue of Bendis' X-Men I've ever bought, but pretty much the first one of the few I bought was when they went on that shopping trip. And I bought it because I saw what his design for Emma was and how her hair was and what her costume was, and I was like, fuck it. I don't care what this issue is about, what anything else is in there. It was a good issue. It was great. It was some of Bendis' best X-Men stuff. He had a great voice for Emma in that. You get to see her just wearing normal person PJs being a friggin' layabout. So God bless you, Bendis, for writing that. But, I bought it because of Anka's design for Emma in that issue. I was like, this is the only reason I need to own this issue. And it turned out to be a really good issue. But it was just like, for me to buy a single issue on the strength of the art in it and the interiors, it's a pretty rare thing. So, Mr. Anka, you are...
Yeah, he's dominating Captain Marvel. I mean...
Oh, yeah, I'm such a fan. movies.
Yeah.
I like all his diverse body types too. You know.
What cover is that where it's like the gym and it's like She-Hulk and Carol and I think maybe Hellcat is there? Is that an A-Force variant? What is that?
I think so.
Yeah.
You
And
saw it
that's
like everywhere. It's such a good picture. It like just makes you smile.
Oh. Just like Fantheon used to make me smile, but now it's all over. Yeah. All right. So we're just gonna end off with everyone's Twitter accounts. I'm Midnighter Bay on Twitter, BAE.
Who's gonna go next? Ladies.
Yeah, Terrence.
Ladies. I was gonna let the guest go.
Yeah, go Mad Moll. Or you have like so many names.
Okay, it's Mad Moll Green at MADMOLLGREEN.
All right.
Sounds like a Terry Pratchett character, like for real. Like I don't even know why.
No, I'm not.
Yeah.
What kind of a character do I sound like? Does my name sound like?
A French dominatrix.
Ouch. It's EMMAHOUXBOIS. And of course, the last name is just Hollywood in French. That's all it is.
His name is definitely like a backpack rapper.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. You got some,
oh my gosh!
early Lupe
I had to like mention
stuff.
him in like a serious essay, and I had to put like Terrence in quotations, Sage Green.
SAGETERRENCE. Bam.
Cool. So one last time. Ready?
We all got to count down.
Yeah.
Wait, what are we saying? I don't understand.
It's
sorry.
The Wictive count.
The 1, 2, 3, 4 click.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Ready?
Yes.
So should we count at the count of 3? Count to 4 at the count of 3?
Yeah, okay.
Y'all are so off beat. Oh my god.
Alright, I got this. I'm going to count down to 3, and then we're going to do it. Alright?
Do what, though? Tell me exactly what to do.
1, 2, 3, 4, click.
Okay.
That's what we do, yeah.
Yeah, every episode. Alright, so 1, 2, 3, go.
1,
2,
3, 4, click.
Click.
Bam. See?